Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the August 13th meeting of the Plan Commission. Per our tradition, we're going to ask you to join us as we stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Menzo, can I ask you to call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hoffmans?
Here.
Commissioner Filio?
Present.
Commissioner Pond?
Here.
Commissioner Butis? Here. Commissioner Taratsas?
Present.
Vice Chair Simidalis?
Here.
Chair Sigmund?
Here. Good evening. I'm Stacy Sigmund. I'm the chair of the Plan Commission, and I want to welcome you all this evening. I'm going to spend just a few minutes here at the beginning of the meeting kind of going through a couple things, just so everybody in the room understands how the meeting is going to flow, and we'll take it off from there. Please feel free at this point to come forward if you haven't. If you want to speak on any of the hearing items tonight, we have sign-up sheets on this front table. It's by hearing subject. So once we get to the public comment section of that portion of the public hearing, we have 4 public hearings tonight. So just watch those sheets, they'll bring them up, and then we'll call you up one by one to address the commissions. I also want to take time, including myself, to ask you to silence cell phones if we could, so we don't have interruptions while anybody is speaking. Our first item on the agenda tonight is the approval of the meeting minutes from July 9th, 2026. Does anybody have any amendments or changes to those draft minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion for approval of the July 9th meeting minutes?
I move to approve.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right. It has been moved and seconded, and after a vote, the meeting minutes of the July 9th, 2026 Plan Commission meeting have been approved. Tonight, as I mentioned, we have 4 action items where we will hold public hearings. The order of business for each agenda item is as follows. We're going to start with a staff introduction of each item. The applicant, if there is one, and there is on 3 of the 4, will come up. They'll have a chance to make a presentation on what they're proposing. We will then open the floor for public testimony. And as I mentioned briefly, we'll have a signed-up sheet. Anybody who wishes to speak will be called to the podium to give your thoughts on it. Then this commission, we will close the public comment period, and this commission will begin their deliberations on the request. As part of that deliberation, we review the criteria for approval, we review any proposed conditions, and we may be asking follow-up or clarification on any questions or any portion of the petitioner's report. It's important to note that the Plan Commission's duty is to review the application materials provided. We take public testimony, we hear from the applicant, and then we discuss the matters before us to determine if we believe they comply with the land use code and the review procedures outlined in Berthoud's code. Planning Commission acts as an advisory board for the town of Berthoud. In most cases, we review and make a recommendation to the board, the town board. Some decisions of the Plan Commission are final authority, but most of them, like preliminary plats and conditional use permits, are heard also then by the town board following the Plan Commission's recommendations. Staff is in attendance tonight, and they will be helping us with the presentation on the agenda items. They're here to answer our technical questions, to work with the Plan Commission regarding the criteria for approval in the code, and then answer any questions we may have on any specific material that's been submitted by the applicant. During the public testimony overview, the Plan Commission gains insight from the information and viewpoints of our residents and any of the public that's interested in the project. Please know that your input is very much welcome and very much appreciated. We're here to listen carefully and to consider all relevant information. And we just ask again, if you wish to speak, you sign up on one of the sheets. Those that have signed up to speak will be called during that period of the agenda item by me. When you come up to the podium, would ask that you provide your name and address. If you happen to have a spelling of a last name or a first name that's difficult, if you would spell that make sure we get it properly reflected in the meeting minutes, that would be appreciated. We ask you to provide your address. If you prefer not to do so, you really don't have to, but we would just ask if you're a resident of town to make that known. We also ask that you keep all comments relevant to the matter that's before us at that point in time. So if you're going to speak to that matter, and make sure that you direct all of your comments to this commission. It's not a period of time for a back and forth question and answer. You can certainly raise questions or concerns, but raise them to us, and then we'll do our best through our deliberation process. And when we go back to the staff or the petitioner to try to answer any unanswered questions that are out there. We also ask that all speakers are going to be limited to 3 minutes in time, and our staff has a great way of kind of keeping track of that. Please note that you are given 3 minutes, but you can't cede your time to somebody else so they can speak for 9 minutes. Everybody just has that 3 minutes. We also understand that at times the public hearings are emotional. This is very personal to a lot of people. You care passionately about your community and what may be happening here or next to your home. But we ask that you respectfully listen to everybody's viewpoints. We ask that you not cheer, boo, applaud, any of the other stuff. Unless it's for me, then you could do that, but try to be civil. It's really important that everybody has the time to express their thoughts and be heard and not interrupted. With that, I'm going to open our very first public hearing, and the public hearing is on the comprehensive plan update and the strategic growth elements. Ms. Dixon, I believe you're in charge of that one. If I could ask you to kick that off, I would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Chair Sigmund and members of the Planning Commission. I am back with the strategic growth element. Just a little bit of a recap. This is a state requirement. It must be adopted into comprehensive plans by the end of the year. The goal of this requirement is to create a strategy for discouraging sprawl and promoting development or redevelopment of underutilized parcels to address housing needs. So these are the 3 required sections of this element: policies and tools, analyzing vacant and underutilized sites, and then analyzing undeveloped sites. Just to recap the purpose, as stated by Department of Local Affairs, is to analyze local conditions to understand where growth should occur, how growth aligns with community needs, how it affects infrastructure and costs, and how natural and agricultural lands can stay protected. The benefits of strategic growth include efficient development, fiscal responsibility, productive development, and resource conservation. So diving into this first component, this references existing policies and tools that align with strategic growth objectives. So we pulled existing policies from the town's 2021 comprehensive plan. We referenced the town's master plans and strategies, and then we also referenced existing land use and zoning tools that the town already has in place. So these 3 sections all illustrate the town's commitment to incorporating strategic growth and also managing growth too. Component 2 focuses on analyzing these underutilized sites close to transit or job centers. So for this component, we chose North 3rd Street and Massachusetts area, and then specifically the Old Town Hall site as our underutilized piece of land. There were 3 main sections for this component. The first one is that our public works, water, utilities, and engineering teams helped us with a feasibility assessment. And this basically told us what infrastructure would be needed if we were to redevelop this building into a mixed-use development. So this includes thinking about water dedication, transportation capacity, and storm considerations. Just a high-level overview, nothing too in-depth. And then second, we provided a public benefit assessment to describe how redevelopment in this area provides benefit to future residents and surrounding neighbors, businesses, and districts. So for example, enhancing the historic downtown core. And then lastly, We align potential housing in this area with Berthoud's previous housing needs assessment, so such as increasing a diversified housing supply and then continuing to commit to Prop 123. Okay, and then component 3 focuses on analyzing undeveloped sites that are being considered for development. For this component, we chose a parcel east of downtown. This is known as the Nomina Minor Subdivision. There were a couple reasons for identifying this site. It's undeveloped. It is also surrounded by existing natural land. And we also have many developers that ask about this parcel. So this was a good reason to research it and then find some information, answer any potential utility or infrastructure questions in the future. And then for this section, there were 2 main areas. So the first section, similar to the last, there was a feasibility assessment done. And for this one, it was a potential development of 200 residential units. And then the last section is a fiscal analysis, and this was a little bit more in depth. For this, we gathered data from Weld County Tax Assessor to analyze the annual mill levy allocation to special districts, and then multiplied the annual taxation by 200 to account for this amount of dwelling units. After this, we also assessed building permit fees by choosing 2 properties that fall within the town's affordability range for the first 3-year commitment term of Prop 123. And then we found the average of these examples. In summary, these are the one-time fees collected at the time of building permit, which will offset the long-term cost of this specific residential development's impact on the town. Of course, it won't offset it completely, and that's something that we touched on in our red line comments, which we'll get to that slide, but that's why you have the strategic growth in front of you. Just a mention to our Neighborhood Centers pilot program. We developed the strategic growth element in coordination with this program. This is not a state requirement, but this is something that the town did participate in. And it designates existing or soon to be mixed use pedestrian oriented areas as these neighborhood centers. The 3 neighborhood centers identified are existing, evolving, and future. So we chose the downtown area as our existing neighborhood center. This reflects areas near transit and community centers, a walkable mixed use community that's already in place. And then the evolving neighborhood center is an area that sits near transit and job centers and has been identified in local plans to support future mixed use pedestrian oriented development. So for this, we chose that North 3rd Street in Massachusetts, which was our component 2 for strategic growth. And then lastly, the future neighborhood center is an area with no on-the-ground development. It's identified in local plans as a future walkable mixed-use community. So in this case, we chose the Jackson Industrial Parcel, which was already identified in our First Street Corridor plan. And now for the red line changes. It looks like a lot. However, there was only 2 changes that were made, and this was suggested by Department of Local Affairs. The first one was for this neighborhood centers that I just mentioned. So this was for the pedestrian oriented and mixed use characteristics section. This is criteria for neighborhood centers, rather than just having the menu items listed out as we did, which are the numbered lines on that page. DOLA suggested that we add these sub bullets to show how Berthoud demonstrates each one. So we only added, we didn't take anything away. This is on page 16 of the document. And then second, on page 14 of the document, DOLA suggested that we provide more clarity on this fiscal analysis and the true cost of development, which is a complex question to answer. So we expanded on the importance of these one-time fees and then elaborate on other nuances that help offset the long-term cost of development on the town. But other than that, DOLA has given the green flag on everything else. And that is all I've got for you tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, then, I'd like to open the public testimony portion of the hearing, or the meeting, if there's any residents that want to speak on the comprehensive plan update. Is there anybody who's signed up to do that? Okay, I see exactly none. Anybody want to change their mind? All right. Hearing none, we will then close the public hearing portion or public comment portion of the public hearing, and we'll open it up to the deliberation. Do we want to start with, do any of the commission members have any questions for staff on these proposed changes?
So right.
Good.
So how many acres are these two vacant properties that we're talking about putting like 200 units?
I have it in the document, but I don't have it on top of my head.
Yeah, I'm curious because I see there's 200, I believe both of them were built out with 200 home estimates or unit estimates, right?
Just one was.
Yeah.
And, and can you review those? So the permit cost to me, when I look at those permit costs, I don't know how big these lots are, but these are affordable homes, right? They're supposed to be affordable homes.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, the permit costs were $70,000 a unit, correct?
For the permit fees,
Yeah.
yes, per
Okay.
dwelling unit.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I have to tell you, I think that's pretty rich
And I
for a
believe,
permit.
Commissioner Semidalis, I believe that also includes the purchase of the raw water fee as well. So that was
Okay.
the raw water,
Which I think was 25,000.
right, and the permit fees
Mhm.
on top
Yeah.
of that.
And we haven't even gotten to development or land purchase or anything to talk about what a lot would really cost
Right.
without even building.
So back to your first question, there was no required or I guess minimum or maximum acreage that DOLA wanted us to choose for these
Mhm.
parcels. So it was kind of just, we talked with them, we got both pieces or both parcels approved, and that was that. We picked what we felt was the best to coordinate with the neighborhood centers and for their own requirements too for strategic growth. And then, yeah, I think that's all I've got for that one. Sorry, what was your other question?
No, I guess my only concern is as we look at that, if these are supposed to be affordable homes, I don't know what the property cost or what the development cost or how big the acreage is or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would suspect before a house can even get built, it's a pretty significant number when you look, and I don't even remember what that average is now for affordable, what that number is.
I believe for a family of four, it was for the attainability factor, so that was in the 120% AMI.
Yeah.
For a family of four, I believe is $156,000 annual income to that household. And so that affordability factor then does not exceed $600,000
Right.
in the town of Berthoud. However, that is on a sliding scale based on the number of bedrooms in a
Right.
residential unit. So yes, you're right. The price of the development before you would even get to the building permit is the land, all the other,
Development, engineering, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I look at it as that's a pretty rich number. Considering you want to put affordable housing, I don't know how you make that happen. I just wanted to draw that out and, make everyone aware of it, just in case they didn't look at those.
Yep, appreciate that. Thank you.
It was, interesting and helpful to see the breakdown of the permit fee
Yes.
costs. How many of those items are in the control of the town versus districts? I mean, you mentioned the water, which is 25,000,
Yes, which
right?
is a
So
big
that was
chunk.
just a huge chunk,
That's a huge
but I don't
chunk,
know
yeah.
what discretion the town of Berthoud has on that number.
Yeah.
So Lakin, do you want to explain the difference between the mill levy and where that annual taxation goes, and then the one-time fees?
Right. So for the mill levy, that is the annual taxation to special districts. So like Berthoud Fire, I think we list them out in here too. They're on all of the tables. Berthoud Fire, Library, Little Thompson Water, and then the permit fees are the one-time fees that are paid at the time of development.
It's like, it looked like the fire impact fee was almost $10,000. Am I right? 9,000 something.
I believe, yeah.
Yep, and I believe that was
That's on the
also
paper
multiplied by 200 perhaps.
Yes.
So on the one-time fees, through ordinance 1355, the town has the ability to waive some of those for affordable housing right now for nonprofit
Oh,
builders,
okay.
and up to 10 a year. So that would reduce the fee by about $50,000. So when we've done that in the past, the building permit fee ends up being between $17,000 and $20,000 versus the other and the point that you're raising. So those one-time impact fees go to help fund park development and street development and maintenance and other components, operating expenses for the town. For a limited number, the town will waive those in order to boost the affordability factor.
Any other questions?
No, I think that was really, that number just jumped out to me. I think I wanted to draw some attention.
And the town does regularly check with other communities to make sure we're not too far under, not too far over. The town regularly does impact fee review to make sure we're in alignment with our expenditure as well as the communities around us. And the last time that was done was a couple years ago, and we are on par with other communities.
Yeah, that was.
Any other questions or initial thoughts on the proposed changes?
Yeah, I have a question as well about the railway. Is there like plans on if that's going to go through Berthoud, if that's gonna go on like the railway now? Because I feel like that kind of changes the Third Street perspective. I know I mentioned like a plaza, but if there's like a hub there, that I would see that more as like commercial mixed use than like residential mixed use. So yeah, like what's the plan with the railway?
Yeah, so right now there is no stop for Berthoud, but that was one of the reasons why we did want to choose that area, because there is the rail that's right there. So maybe we could encourage the state to hopefully put a stop in Berthoud, and maybe that would incentivize more people to live in that area and promote more of a mixed use pedestrian friendly area, if the rail is right there.
Okay, got a follow-up one. And like that's semi close to the innovation district.
Yeah.
Is there like intent or plans to like kind of connect that so that that kind of becomes a downtown Mountain Ave connection to the innovation district?
Not that I know of right now. I don't know if Anne knows something that I don't.
Sure. So the Innovation District was developed in order to promote redevelopment of that area and eventually to connect with the Mountain Avenue overlay. The districts do connect at the south side, and part of the Neighborhood Centers pilot program that we participated in, as Lakin indicated, some of those projects were in the Mountain Avenue corridor. And of course, we want to promote and encourage more mixed use in that innovation district, residential with employment centers, mixed use, new developments coming in. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, there is intent, it's just not there yet.
I have a question. Do we have a team or someone taking care of developing these activities and like all the first corridor area that is supposed to be for businesses or small, I mean, not industries, but some, yeah. So do we have a team that is in charge of that in town?
So we have an economic sustainability manager, Brian DuBois, and his job is to promote and incentivize redevelopment. Also, when the development community approaches the town, they work with Ton and Luke in determining what their development needs and infrastructure needs are in that area. This fall, Brian and I, as well as the planning team, were looking into a potential urban renewal authority for that area that could also potentially revitalize the area quicker. A lot of what we do is so dependent upon the development community. Brian does go to, there's an organization, they meet once a year in Las Vegas to do recruitment of trying to bring businesses
Yeah.
to the town of Berthoud. He's also tries to pinpoint targeted audiences or targeted businesses and has been reaching out to them to introduce them to Berthoud and try to incentivize new businesses to come to Berthoud as well. We're at that pivotal part in Berthoud where if we're a great smaller community and we don't yet have enough rooftops or development to support some of the type of development that we're trying to bring in. So it's that balancing act because some businesses won't come in unless there's a population base large enough to support them. So it's this balance of growth, residential growth, and economic growth, commercial growth. So Brian is a solo team right now, and then the planning team is a team of 3, and then Luke's team from engineering. We all are working together to try to make the development process as smooth and transparent as we can.
Well, yeah, I understand. I mean, and the staff has many other things to do. But I was just wondering if we have someone that actively goes to shows and conferences and whatsoever, just to sell the town, because we talked a lot about we don't have a lot of restaurants on Main Street. We would like to have, I mean, and the project for the development of that area is fantastic. But if we don't have anyone coming for lunch, for example, it's going to be difficult. So it's like chicken and the egg, you know. So we need to have someone that actively goes outside of the town, everywhere, to say, okay, this is who we are. There we are, and we have space for expansion. So I hope we do that.
Yep. So again, Brian DuBois is our economic sustainability manager, and he is doing that. And then I know Chris Kirk, the town administrator, also does recruitment as well.
Okay,
But thank you.
Any other questions before we start deliberating? So obviously, according to the staff report, this is something we are mandated now under the passage of Senate Bill 24-174 to adopt by a plan by December 31st, 2026. So thank you for getting it all organized for us. What will happen from here, our plan commission recommendation, the staff is recommending this in their staff report, that these changes be made into the town's 2021 comprehensive plan in section 6. If we concur with that recommendation of staff, then we would obviously make a motion to support these changes, and then it would ultimately be heard by the town board. Anybody have a thought on whether our recommendation on whether you support the proposed changes?
I support it.
Yeah.
Anybody not support? Hearing none, would anybody like to entertain a motion? We have a motion sheet in front of us as an example of what you could entertain.
I move to make a motion to approve the strategic growth element update with the changes outlined by staff to the 2021 comprehensive plan as required by SB 174.
I'll second.
Right. You got the second noted? Do we need a voice vote or roll call vote?
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Ms. Manta, could you take the roll, please?
Commissioner Filio,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffmans,
Yes.
Commissioner Pond,
Yes.
Commissioner Taratsas,
Yes.
Commissioner Butis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Semidalis,
Yes.
Chair Sigmund.
Yes. Great, thank you. This concludes the public hearing on the comprehensive plan update and strategic growth. The next matter on our agenda is public hearing number 2. I want to now formally open that public hearing, and this is on the final plat of Legacy Park located at Mountain Avenue east of Meadow Lake Drive and west of South Berthoud Parkway. Ms. Hildebrandt, I believe you're our staff representative of this, so if we could hand that off to you, an overview of the proposed project.
Excellent. Thank you, Madam Chair and Planning Commission. All right. And I think our slides might be out of order. Sorry, bear with me while I'm going to have to quickly jump through. Okay, sorry about that. So this is the Legacy Park project. The currently undeveloped property is an approximately 306 acres and is located south of Mountain Avenue, east of Meadow Lark Drive, and west of South Berthoud Parkway. The subject property is currently zoned UR Urban Residential and SR Suburban Residential. The future land use map identifies this area as suburban business along Mountain Avenue, transitioning into urban residential primarily along the west portions of the site along Meadow Lark Drive, and suburban residential along the south and east portions of the site. The open space place type has been identified along Dry Creek, and the northern portion of the property is located within the Mountain Avenue corridor. Per the Berthoud Trails Master Plan, and that's the map on the left, a proposed regional trail, as denoted by the purple dashed line, is proposed along the subject property's west property line, as well as through the Dry Creek corridor. An existing regional trail is located along the South Berthoud Parkway. The Berthoud Open Space Plan, the map on the right, shows the relationship of the property to existing parks and open space. The project proposes a community park along the center of the development, as I'll touch upon here momentarily. The applicant is requesting a final plat approval for a residential development inclusive of 453 single-family residential lots, 10 commercial mixed-use lots, and 7 future development tracts, and multiple outlots to accommodate future public parks and open space development, including that proposed linear park. The final plat, if approved, would formally subdivide or create the lots. This application, keep in mind, is being processed under the previous or the old code, not the current code. And per that code, Planning Commission, you are the final approving body. So this final plat application will not be heard by the Town Board of Trustees. So again, the decision you make tonight is the final decision. So as a reminder, and for those joining us this evening that are a little less familiar with the land use approval process, final plat is the third step in the overall land division process. This step, on average, takes about 8 to 12 months to complete. And following final plat, the applicant moves into pre-construction, or in other words, construction of required infrastructure, including utilities and roads, followed by inspections and then in development agreement adherence. This step takes about 6 to 8 months to complete on average, and then following pre-construction acceptance, the applicant moves into building permits for any residential component and site plan or use by special review for any commercial components of this development. So now back to the project. Legacy Park, formerly known as Ludlow Farm, received Neighborhood Master Plan and rezone approval in April of 2023, followed by preliminary plat approval in January of 2025. The approved Neighborhood Master Plan includes a mix of uses, including single-family residential, detached, townhomes, condos, and commercial development, with an estimated project total of 1,500 to 1,800 residential units. This final plat is for a portion of the overall Legacy Park development. The proposed final plat is in substantial conformance with the approved Neighborhood Master Plan and the approved preliminary plat. The road network, lot configuration, density, and proposed open space areas are aligned with the previously approved plans. The final plat includes 453 single-family detached residential lots, multiple future development tracts, and a centrally located linear park. And the future development tracts will be required to be further subdivided through subsequent preliminary and final plats, meaning additional preliminary and final plats may be needed for the remaining portion of the Legacy Park development, and that would come before Planning Commission and the Town Board of Trustees. So to note, the preliminary plat was approved for 439 residential lots, while this final plat proposes again 453 residential lots. And this is a 14-unit increase. So this change equates to about a 3% increase in density below the 5% allowed by the development code as defined as substantial conformance. So they are allowed some modification or adjustment from preliminary to final plat, and this is within that allowed limit. This slide reflects those staff and agencies that received a referral request and are those typically assigned a review for each and every final plat application that the town receives. In reviewing the application materials, each reviewing party is expected to either confirm they have no concern or they provide comments and requested revisions based upon code requirements. And each subsequent submittal made by the applicant is then expected to address the requested revisions of that review. In this particular case, the application completed 5 rounds of referral agency review and staff review, meaning all requests for revisions made by staff and referral agencies were adequately addressed by the 5th review. And therefore, the final plat was allowed to advance to public hearing tonight. Section 6 of the Town Development Code states that the town shall use the following review criteria as seen in the packet and on the screen, in addition to other applicable provisions of the code to evaluate the application. In order to approve a final plat, the criteria must be met. Staff finds that the Legacy Park final plat request meets the final plat review criteria, again of the old code, and specific details on how the projects are meeting these criteria are provided in the staff report. Therefore, staff recommend Planning Commission make a motion to approve the Legacy Park final plat based on meeting the review criteria in section 30-6-108.c of the Bertha Development Code. And I'm available for any questions.
Any initial staff questions before we hear the applicant's
I
presentation?
have a question. Were there any other significant changes besides the 14 lots?
There was not. Staff found that there were no other additional or significant changes. Yep. Good question.
The commercial mixed use, or the mixed use lots,
Mhm.
those have condos. Is that like intended to be condo with something underneath, or am I missing that?
So potentially, so we won't know until that's being proposed. So as of right now, there is no mixed use or multifamily being proposed. So it's that single family residential. So that would come with a later application, and that would either, depending on if it's one of the existing lots, it could potentially go through site plan or use by special review. If a use by special review, it would require a public hearing. And so that could be, there's that potential that it could be commercial on the first floor with residential above, or it certainly could be standalone condos on some of those lots as well within that zone district.
Thank you.
Yeah, the layout of the lots is definitive. There will not be any change on that.
So in order to, so the existing lots, the smaller residential lots that you see, that's definitive. So this final plat creates all the lines on the plat that you're seeing. So they now can legally sell those properties as well as then develop them once the infrastructure is in place and development agreement and all that is ready to go. If they were to come back, so any of the larger lots, so in that lower corner, there is a lot there. So as a lot, if they wanted to modify those lot lines, they certainly could, but it would warrant a replat to modify those lot lines. So it does require a land use approval process to modify any of these lines after this approval, if that makes sense. So again, if they decided, say 5 years down the road, that one of these lots that is intended for commercial, they decide they want 2 or 3 lots out of that one big one, they would have to come back through a plating action to further subdivide it.
Any other clarifying questions before we hear from the?
Yeah, on the additional 14 lots, where did they come from? Was there shrinkage? Was it taken from a park? How did that happen?
So I do believe, and they can get into more detail, the applicants are here to provide their presentation. I do believe that they did not take from their open space or their park, their linear park. I believe that they did modify some of the lot sizes. There was some shifting. They worked with staff to shift some of the lot lines to accommodate then builder requirements for what they needed for lots and lot size expectations for the product type. So there has been some shifting in those lot lines that likely, my understanding, resulted in this modification. But everything is within. So again, the density that was approved with the neighborhood master plan is their ultimate density. So while this may have increased the density slightly, they'll still be within the umbrella of the entire neighborhood master plan, if that makes sense. So at no point in time, really, can you exceed in any application or project, can you exceed the density that was approved with that neighborhood master plan without amending the neighborhood master plan and making that request. So again,
even if that amendment is less than 5%?
In that regard, that's where our code allows that deviation from preliminary to final plat. And oftentimes, the reason that the code is written in that way and that we do allow some of that flexibility is that once you get into that finalizing the engineering, so laying the foundation for all your infrastructure, you may find that either you need to take away lots because, say, detention pond needs to actually be larger once you've done all the engineering and all that wonderful math, and decide, oh, okay, well, we have to lose lots. Or alternatively, you may do all that math, or you lay your road network and decide that maybe your road doesn't need to extend that far, or whatever it may be. It then opens it up for that slight modification to utilize that area as necessary. And engineering inevitably there's always a change because of engineering in most cases.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I've got a couple more. On a couple of the diagrams, I didn't see the trail being extended from Hillsdale. Is that like also going to be down that regional trail? Was on like the first diagrams, but not on some of the like following ones. Is that like you can see it in that one actually, like how the Hillsdale kind of goes across like where the creek is. Like, is that gonna be there? Are they gonna put a trail by the creek?
I will leave that to the applicant to clarify on that, because off the top of my head, I cannot recall. I do believe there is a trail proposed along Dry Creek. Yes, there is a trail along Dry Creek. Additionally, the subdivision to the south that is not a part of this also has a trail connection, so they'll be compatible and cohesive in that regard. And then yes, connecting out to like South Bertha Parkway. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. And then I wanted to talk traffic.
Okay.
I think if we could, just to
Wait till.
yeah, as we get into, because I'd love to give the petitioner a chance to go through their presentation, get any comments from the public, and then that may tie in as we get into more of the nitty gritty. We could hold that off just a little bit.
Okay, excellent. Then with that, I will turn it over to the applicant.
They may answer some of that during their presentation. So yes, if I could ask the petitioner to come up and introduce the project.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, first off, thank you for serving. I know this is a grind every 2 weeks to come in here, so we appreciate you doing that. You perform a valuable service to the town, so thank you. My name is Don Henson with Legacy Park Investors. Legacy Park Investors consist of 3 families. The Hensons, the Spencers, who are Jake and Ken, are here, and the Mulshines. Kevin is recovering from back surgery, and we recently brought in another company, Bear and Collier Companies, with Metro Commercial. for the very reason of we have a commercial component. We have two commercial nodes, the Mountain Avenue corridor, and also the commercial node down where Spartan hits 287. They have connections to nationwide tenants that we don't, and we're really looking forward to them helping us with the commercial and promote that. I know that's a priority for the town and it's a priority for us. You can see the location. I think everybody's familiar with the property. Before we talk details, I think it's a good idea to give a little background. I know many of you were not here when the neighborhood master plan came through and the preliminary plat came through. A little bit about the history of the property. The property owner is Mr. Greg Ludlow and his family. They've owned the property for nearly 100 years. In fact, he's in the audience tonight. His great-grandfather was the first mayor of Berthoud, Mr. F.I. Davis. So there's a lot of history there. And we really embrace that history, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. The property was annexed into Berthoud in 2010. So this isn't something that has been recent. It's been annexed since 2010. There was a rezoned to PUD in 2011, and there was also an overall development plan approved in 2011. In 2021, Berthoud updated their comp plan, and the previously approved plans were inconsistent with the comp plan. And it was about that time that we had a relationship with Mr. Ludlow from property we developed that he owned in Longmont. He said, would y'all take a look at this property? It's really special. It's one of our last family holdings. We'd like to do something special with the property. We took a look at it and we fell in love with Berthoud. We fell in love with the property and all of the assets it had. So we came to terms and we began working on planning the property to bring it into compliance with the comp plan. And then later on in 2023, the neighborhood master plan. So we spent really from 2021 to 2023 planning, doing one plan, doing another plan, till we finally hit the sweet spot where we thought we had something really special here. The rezoning and neighborhood master plan were approved in 2023. And the preliminary plat in 2024. And that brings us to tonight to final plat. And one of the things we're kind of unique, we don't call it developing, we call it creating communities, and we really believe that. We put a lot of time and effort in seeing how not only how things interact within our project, but also how it interacts with the surrounding town. Some of the elements we looked at when we saw this property, Wagner Farm Park, what a great facility. The synergy there, we're almost diagonal to Wagner Farm Park. We knew we wanted to create a connection there. Also the entry corridor. This is kind of the main entry to Berthoud from 287. The Mountain Avenue plan, that is all something we embraced, and we're looking forward to creating a village center there. Berthoud has a strong sense of community. How can we enhance that? And then I was blown away by the history and heritage of this area, from moving the town from the Little Thompson to Floyd Clymer, who was I think at 13, the youngest car dealer in the nation. There's just a lot of history here that is really, really interesting. And then most of all, when you create a community, you want to bring in people from different cross sections of society, and that's where the mix of housing types comes. It's not a plain vanilla monolithic community. We want to appeal to empty nesters, to first-time home buyers, to move-ups. So we want to create a wide variety of housing types. And that is the plan that you saw. You'll notice it does have a a central park right down the middle. It's a little hard to see on there, but if you'll notice at the north, there's a blue dotted line. It's a connection to the regional trail. It runs through the linear park all the way down and runs along the creek to the question on the trail and ties in to the east over there at Berthoud Parkway to the Hillsdale connection there. So we're real excited about that, and especially the trail, because we got some neat things we're doing with that trail. I mentioned the synergy with Wagner Farm Park. You can see the blue line there, making that trail connection. I think that is key to make it easy to access Wagner Farm Park. And of course, everybody's familiar with it. The Arboretum, this is looking south towards Mountain Avenue from Wagner Farm Park. You can see the regional trail right there. And down at the other arrow is the crossing where it will cross and turn into Legacy Trail through our project. And there's a reason we call it Legacy Trail. But I think maybe let's just kind of walk through and see when I talk about creating communities, we always look at our developments through the eyes of who's going to live there. So you got a typical family. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Let me talk a little bit about the land plan itself. We talked about the mix of housing types. We talked about the Mountain Avenue retail, the Legacy Trail start, Legacy Park, and the heritage stop stations. You know, one of the things that was important is preserving the history and heritage of Berthoud in the area. We spent hours with Mark French to talk about the history of the area, and we thought, what better way to do this than through that linear park. We're doing about a dozen what we call history stop stations with displays of the town's history and the area's history. And you'll see one of those later in the show. So we've embraced the town's history, and that will be, I think I heard in another meeting, something about a kind of an interactive historical walk. And it'll be in conjunction with the Historical Society. We want to get a lot of input from them. We've had discussions from them, and we look forward to working with them on that. In addition to that, every street but one is named after Berthoud historical figures. And we are looking at taking a QR code, little sticker, and put it on the street sign. And that will be tied into the Historical Society's website. So if you wonder, F.I. Davis, who is F.I. Davis? Because one of the streets is named F.I. Davis. Click on the QR code, and it goes and it tells you about F.I. Davis, about him being the first mayor of Berthoud. So we really, really have embraced that. And then last, you'll see in a few minutes, the railroad themed amenity center. Berthoud started on the Little Thompson. I don't know if you've heard the story or not. I'm not going to go through that because we're limited on time, but I could talk all night about it, but I'll keep moving. But it was moved from the Little Thompson up to here. We embrace that, and we're making it part of the community. So here's our family I talked about earlier. They're at Wagner Farm Park. They had a fun day there. They come down into the Village Center in the Mountain Avenue Village Center, get some ice cream. They walk along the promenade of the retail there. And then they come to the north end of Legacy Park. And the legacy is to embrace the history of the town. That's why it's called Legacy Park. That star is where they would be standing, and they pause to just take a look down the park. I stopped working. I think it froze up.
think I know a fix. Give me one moment. Apologies.
Okay. I may have hit a wrong button or something.
Go ahead and try one more time for me.
Let me try an error key. Can you move it from your side? You know, while she's trying to work out the technical difficulties, may I answer a question that was asked earlier?
Sure.
The question on the additional lots, there was no intent to make any lots smaller. If I may, I don't know if you can see. I don't think I could. Can you see? You can't see up there, can you?
Oh, yeah.
We
have it on the screen.
Okay, I'll move the mouse over there. Can you see where the mouse is now? It's not up there. Okay. At any rate, this right here, for those of you who can see it,
Yeah.
that was a tract in the preliminary plat. And between the preliminary and final, we were able to determine the lot size of a particular builder for their footprint. So that tract was just divided up. There was no taking land from anywhere. There was no anything like that. It was a tract in the preliminary plat for residential. We simply drew the lot lines inside the tract. That's the reason you ended up with 14 more lots, because it was a small tract that was just divided between preliminary and final plat.
And what kind of units will go in there?
I'm
What
sorry?
kind of units are planned to go in there?
That would be small single family detached units. They're 32-foot wide lots.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thanks for bearing with us.
Thank you for your patience, commissioners and participants.
Should we stop it and start it again?
That might be the answer. Of course, unplugging it.
Oh, you got it. It just wouldn't work on the space bar.
Oh, what is it doing now?
Oh, it's not showing on the screen, but it's showing down there.
You tried. Okay. So it must be the primary. Goodness gracious, I do not. It's odd. Okay.
Down there.
In the meantime, I have a question.
Sure.
So what is the pace of developing everything? Because I remember you came a year and a half ago, explaining that this wonderful corridor in the middle will be so attractive, and I think it is. So, but what are the steps of the development of this? You know, are you going to do first the houses and then the park, or is it going to be in the same time?
We will start at, you can see there are like 3 east-west sections.
Uh-huh.
You can't see it on there, but there are 2 more. So we will start
Just ignore me. Sorry.
we will start at the bottom, Spartan, and we will build a section of residential along with that section of the park. Then we'll move up to the next section, build that section of residential along with the park, and then the third. But It will be one continuous operation, bottom to top, because our drainage, our utilities come from the south.
Yeah, okay. So the park will be developed in the same base as the houses.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you remind me, is Spartan Avenue gonna connect to 287
Yes.
in the first filing or future filing?
It's not required in the first filing. Our goal is, we've got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of infrastructure to put in, but our goal is to make that connection, even though it's not required. It's quite frankly, it's good for marketing the homes to have that connection. So that's our goal to do that, but before we finish our first, filing, we would like to have that connection in.
I just want to, sorry. Can everybody in the audience hear? Just because,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
they're away from the
I'm
microphone.
sorry.
I was going to have you take it at least while they try to work through this. Do we have a solution?
We are getting creative.
Okay.
I have a question while we're waiting.
Sure.
So all of this like red and this like walkthrough that you're describing, like it's not platted on here. I'm assuming roofs, before commercial wants to come in, but like what are the sizes you're expecting for these shops and these restaurants? Is it smaller like ice cream shops? Are you expecting to have like larger, like on the red on the other side? On the far side there is a bigger building. Like what do you expect is kind of coming here? You've been talking with that nice shop player.
We don't control that. The market controls that. We just provide that opportunity, and we can kind of nudge the market by what I talked about with the Barron Collier companies and their ability to talk with other people. One of the things that the town board really wanted is room enough for some type of big box somewhere. So that's where the red is over there. It's a matter, to Ann's point about you have to have a certain amount of rooftops to get that. But the idea is to have that opportunity for it. That's good tax base for the town. But then the other smaller shops and stuff up along the road. But again, that evolves. Commercial is what works now may not work 4 or 5 months from now or 4 or 5 years from now. And this is probably a 10-year build out project. So this project will evolve. We are committed to trying to make the commercial work. One of the biggest things I think, because I've been in some of the meetings with some of the potential commercial buyers, and number one, to Ann's point, is rooftops. But the other one is certainty. They want to see the project. They love the quality of the project. They want to be a part of it, but they want to see it started so they know it's real. If you can imagine going to your site committee and showing them a site and saying, yeah, we need to go ahead with this site, and then it's delayed for 2 years because something happened and it didn't get built, they've got egg on their face. So they're really reluctant till they see dirt turning to commit. So I think if we can get through this, will be a big step forward for that.
Thank you.
Apologies, we do have a fix. It is not quite as polished as the previous view, and you will have to cue me to advance your slides old school style. So
Okay.
I can control it on my end, but
All
we can
right.
make it work and see a little
Teamwork.
Yes.
So where are we?
We're right where you left off.
You were at the top of the park looking down.
Okay, we were about to. I mean, this is my killer shot, and it got interrupted. So
Right at the climax.
we'll try again. Yeah, let's go to slide. I believe it's 58. So that's the view down the park. Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman, for remembering that. That is what we call Skip Rock Pond. That's the north anchor of the park. You could see we're creating a stream bed through the park. There'll be several amenities in the park. You can see the regional trail on the left side of the park. That park is a half a football field wide and 7 football fields long. And it is purposely linear because when we talked about creating community, if you've seen the land plan, it stretches nearly the length of the development. That way, everyone is within a block and a half of the park. It becomes a gathering place. It becomes a place where people interact. It's just a good place to bring people together. And with those amenities, we think it's going to be really nice, and I think it's going people will really love that. You can't have Skip Rock Pond without skipping rocks, so that's kind of a look of what we envision the pond to be like. We can keep going. This is just another rendering of the park itself. Another one. Yeah, this is what I talked about, the history stop stations. They won't all be this elaborate. This is one that's celebrating the cattle ranching, the range history of the area. That's a chuck wagon. You'll notice at the top of the chuck wagon there, you'll see Ludlow Farms. And I don't think Mr. Ludlow was a member of Delta Tau Delta fraternity, but that was actually the Ludlow family brand from years ago. So we've embraced that. And again, the QR code, you can see the guy standing on the right. He's about to scan the QR code so he can learn about the history of Berthoud from on the cattle ranching part of it. One up. Oh, you're there. Okay. Yeah. That's just kind of an example of some of the housing types we expect. I would point out the top left, that's a Mission Homes product. They really cater to attainable housing, school teachers, firefighters, first responders. They make a great product. We're thrilled to have them in the project. They have got a knack for creating affordable projects and affordable homes that really look good. I mean, I'd be proud to live in one of those or live beside one of those. Those are really nice homes. And as we move on down, the star there is at the amenity center at the south end of the project, and you'll see the blue circle that is there to point out that you've got the regional trail coming down. Spartan is going to be, it's a major collector. We think it's, in Ruth's telling us, it's going to have a lot more traffic on it than some of the subdivision roads. We just felt like we needed to do something to deal with how do you get from all the homes on the north side of Spartan to the amenity center on the south side. So we're spending about $1 million on a pedestrian underpass under Spartan, not because any code required it, just because we think that's creating a good community. We want people who live up there to be comfortable having their kid ride a bicycle down the trail, get to the amenity center without having to cross a busy street. So that's something we elected to do.
Wait, on the Berthoud Parkway, you mean?
No, that's on Spartan.
Yeah, crossing Berthoud Parkway, is it the one? There's a roundabout over there.
There's a roundabout on Berthoud Parkway, but
Yeah.
where you see the linear park crosses Spartan, right there, the blue circle.
Yeah, okay.
That's where the pedestrian underpass will be, under the new
Park.
Spartan.
Okay.
So it connects
Yeah,
the park
yeah, no.
without having to go across
Oh,
a major
okay,
connector.
Okay, I see. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Thank you.
And this is a rendering of the amenity center. Our plans, our building plans are about at 30%. We're at the point of doing value engineering, so we're moving forward with that. We got the line on, you can see it's patterned after a older railroad station. Our goal is to take a railroad car, a passenger car, and make that part of it. People could use it for birthday parties. You could get some food inside the amenity center and go out and have tables out there. We think it's just going to be a really neat look. And one more, Bella. If you come on down, you will notice that's another look at the amenity center. And if you notice that central area with the big arch, and then just to the right of that, there's a roof going to the right of the arch. I wish I had a way to move the mouse, but I don't. But there you go, Bella. Keep going right there, and go on to your right. Yeah, that roof that's right above there. There. Just keep in mind the way that is looking. So if you walk in there and you turn and you're walking to the right, you can go to the next one now, Bella. That's what you see from inside the building there. That's was purposely lined to look directly at Longs Peak and Mount Meeker. Our architect is really good at stuff like that. So there was a lot of detail put into that to make that happen. And then you're looking out onto the event lawn. If you just keep going, that is the rear of the mini center with the swim area. And then we also have an event lawn because we want to make it we didn't want to just have swimming back there. We want to make it a 12-month, all year round place. And then if you look to the blue circle to the left, you will see one of our favorite places. It's we call it Sunset Terrace. And go ahead on down, Bella. One more. Yeah, there you go. That is Sunset Terrace looking out towards the mountains. That's connected to the regional trail, so it's accessible to everybody. What you see on the far side of it is a silhouette that will identify all of the different mountains you're looking at. So you look down at the silhouette and you can see, oh, there's Longs Peak, there's Mount Meeker, they're all the mountain range. And that was actually a photo taken from that location. Now, I'm not going to comment on whether the sunset may have been enhanced by our graphic people, but it's a pretty neat, it's a special place. One more, Bella. And just in conclusion, we were talking about review and that sort of thing. Just kind of a recap. One review or the other, we went through 2 neighborhood master plan submittals, 4 preliminary plat submittals, 5 final plat submittals. So we've been reviewed. This project's been reviewed a dozen times. And then if you add 2 planning commission hearings today, 2 board of trustees commission hearings, that's 16 times this project's been over. I think it's time to quit studying and take the test. We're looking forward to building it. And I believe Kristen, now I've gone through all the fun part. She's got some technical stuff she wants to present as part of the requirements for the plan. And anytime I'll be glad to answer questions.
Yeah.
I know the technical part is what you've been waiting for, right? It's the most exciting part. All right. If we can skip forward 2 slides, I think. Right there. Oh, back one. Thank you very much. My name is Kristen Turner. I'm with TB Group 444 Mountain Avenue, and we have been working on the planning for this for many years now. So we are really excited to be here tonight to share the final plat with you. I'm going to be very brief. I am going to share some technical details, maybe answer a few of those questions that you had earlier, and then our whole team will be available to answer any questions that you might have. So as Ton mentioned, the property is approximately 306 acres, and we're proposing 453 single-family detached lots, which will include a mix of multiple lot sizes and several future development tracts as well, open space, and an 8.7 acre central park. Next slide, please. So one of the criteria for approval includes the conformance with the preliminary plat. And as it was described earlier, we are in conformance with that plat. We do not exceed any of the criteria, but I do have a list of everything that has been changed for you. So when you look, we've got the preliminary plat on the left, the final plat on the right. And so when you just look at them quickly, they appear to look exactly the same. And for the most part, they are. These are primarily technical corrections that were made between preliminary and final plat. So for example, we had a few of our outlots or tracts on the preliminary plat that were combined into one. We had some tract and outlot name changes Our alleys were previously tracks, I believe, and now they're outlots. Again, it's a technical component, very exciting. I know that's what you were waiting to hear about tonight. So minor changes. And then the lots that we discussed that have changed. So when you look at the northernmost block directly adjacent to the park on the preliminary plat, you see it's kind of a peachy color. That's where we added in those lots. Then we did have a couple of changes if you go over to Berthoud Parkway. So on the northernmost lot directly adjacent to Berthoud Parkway, we reduced the number of lots there by 4. So those lots grew. All of the lot changes happened within the boundaries of where those lots were previously. And then if you come directly south of that, so again, adjacent to Berthoud Parkway, we increased 1 lot in that area. So that accounts for all 14 of the lot number changes from preliminary to final. All of these adjustments fall well below the criteria for change between preliminary and final. They're really just kind of technical cleanup items that are part of that process of moving from preliminary to final, but we like to point them out so that you have the details. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So getting back to the big idea that shaped the development, this is a community that's going to include a range of housing options, single family detached for this first filing, but again, a mix of different lot sizes, which is going to allow for that different product size to bring in a lot of different folks from the community looking for housing for different times in their lives. The development is also structured around that central park that's right in the middle of the property. That was very intentional to make sure that that park was kind of nearby everything. It's right in the middle of everything. There will be more pocket parks kind of as you move towards the edges of the property boundaries and in future development tracks that pop up as well, so that there's smaller areas for folks to go as well. But we started with that big central park as kind of an organizing feature for the subdivision. The river corridor is being preserved through the southern portion of the site, so we'll be maintaining that large amount of open space there, and then the extension of the regional trail being routed through the property as well. This will end up being a pretty big connecting piece once it's built for the community. There's existing regional trail to the east, existing regional trail to the north. And so this is, I mean, we've all seen this property. It's a big property. So it'll be a really big connection that is finally built, which will be great for the network. It'll include spurs to the west as well. So it's really going to be a piece that adds a lot of value to your overall network.
Still the plan to have a path.
What was that?
Trail going under 27 to the west. Is it still the plan to do that?
I don't know. That's not part of this project, so I don't know if that's part of the town's overall vision or not. Next slide, please. So we'll take just a quick peek at the park, kind of moving from north to south. You can see the trail that runs all the way through the park. We are including loop walks that come off of the trail kind of all the way from north to south throughout the park. There are shaded pavilion areas as you get more into the central and southern portions. We're including amphitheater areas, turf areas. There'll be restrooms as part of this park. And then at the very southern end of the park, and this part it's in design. It's not part of this plan. But the southern end of the park will include the community building and the pool and the courts and play equipment and things like that. Next slide, please. So that takes us back to the first filing, final plat. The plan is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, the port plan, the preliminary plat, and the final plat approval criteria. So we are respectfully requesting approval of the final plat tonight. And as I mentioned, our whole team is here and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
If I could ask commissioners, I think I'd like to hold questions so we hear the public comment first. We can open up and ask questions of either staff or the petitioner. No more, that's it for the petitioner at the moment, correct? Great. With that, I'd like to open up the public testimony portion. Is there any residents that have asked to speak on the Legacy Park project? Oh, please. Thank you so much. As I mentioned earlier, when I call your name, if I could ask you to come to the podium, introduce yourself with name and address, help us with any complicated spelling, and please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes. Can I welcome up Jeremy, is it Gunther? Ginther.
Sorry, I didn't realize that there's 2 pages. I missed it in the reading.
Oh, okay. Then I have,
It's Barnard. My handwriting is terrible.
perfect. If I could ask you to come to the microphone, thank you.
Over here. Amy Barnard. I live at 400 Cheyenne Drive, right near the high school, and right close to where this development is going in. It's nice to see new faces. I spoke at the last meeting for this development, so see some new faces, see some old faces. So good to be here again. It's been a long time since 2023. Holy cow, we're almost at 2027. A lot has changed in the world since this all started. I would say the economy has changed, the housing market has changed, employment rates have changed, and those impacts have been felt in our little town. Yet the town is still choosing to approve more and more development. The developers, which we just saw, do a great job of appeasing for your emotions. They showed beautiful pictures of what this community would look like. They mentioned the community would have access. That pool that they showed isn't open to Berthoud residents. It's only people that live in the neighborhood. Things like that to keep in mind as you're making this decision is they really got you from an emotional part there. Candidly, the Ludlow family, yes, if they wanted to do something really special, they could have left the land as open space and just given it to the town. That's an option. Let's just be honest here. Folks are here to make a ton of money. They showed retail and commercial areas that once built will be directly competing with a downtown that hasn't yet reached its full potential, which I have concerns about. They said they did traffic surveys, which is all well and good, but I don't think the town has done a traffic survey of what it's going to look like when all these developments are built out. My kids went to Ivy. I have them going to Turner now, and as I said, I live near the high school. Those streets are very congested in the morning. There's cars, there's kids on bikes, there's kids walking to school. And at some points, I have seen very dangerous situations. And if we're bringing more folks, that's just going to compound the issue. I moved here from Superior, right around where the fire hit. One of the issues when they were rebuilding houses was they learned that they needed to put pilings under there so that houses stayed stable. We're seeing that in the development that's up along 287, but is, which direction is that? North from where this is going in. It's causing a lot of issues where people can't sell their houses now. They want to get out. The houses are sinking. Do we know if that's going to happen with this development? There's also another side of the housing market that, yeah, they're saying they want to bring more houses in, but we've seen the amount of time that houses are on the market has grown. We're seeing a lot of the older population move out, so we're having more houses come on the market. Those are things to consider as well. I just want to ask the town, if you can, just slow down. Let's revisit these assumptions that we thought were good in 2023. They probably don't carry now. Yeah, let's just halt the brakes for a second if we can. If not this one, then the next one. Because I just want to make sure that what we do here is right. I'm not against growing the town. I just want it done properly and in the best way possible. So that's it.
Thank you so much for your comments, Ms. Barner. I do want to point out, and you did an excellent job, that we have a new timing system. So you're going to see the green, a yellow, and a red. So you kind of know where you're at with the 3 minutes. You did an excellent job. I should have explained that better. So thank you for being our first speaker on that. Now, if I could ask, and I can read Mark, but I apologize. I'm having trouble with your last name. So, Mr. Mark, please.
Yes, it's a good start.
So my name is Mark Morris. I'm a pastor in town, one of the pastors at New Freedom Outreach Center. Also a resident of the town. I live on Rubinet Lane and Rose Farm. So we're a sister community to this development. I appreciate very much the heart of what the woman that just spoke shared, but I'm going to kind of offer a little bit of a countervailing view, I guess. I don't know any of the developers personally. We may have met somewhere along the line. I'm very much aware of the Ludlow family historically. I'm a former civil, structural, mechanical, architectural guy, and worked for 40 years in California with many different jurisdictions and worked on a lot of major developments. I would like to speak favorably for this project. I think that, it's a long build out. I may not be around to see the completion of it because I'm 75 years old now, but I hope to be. I've done a deep dive on all the publicly available materials. And I just want to say that I think this is a very quality approach. I think that the overall heart of the project is something that ultimately Berthoud can be very proud of. And we don't all know the future for sure, but I think we all have a vested interest in what we're doing here in town. And I think that the people behind the project get that. They understand. I think they really do care about our town. We're moving forward. The town's going to grow. So the goal is to have controlled quality growth. And I think that this project addresses that. So I urge that you approve it. Let us move forward on the next step. And I think that as a property owner in the adjoining development, this project at completion will enhance my property value ultimately, and all of the adjoining community. So I think it's a good thing, and I love to see it go forward. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Morris. Before I consider closing the public testimony portion, is there anybody else who wants to add their name and address the commission? All right. Without that, I just want to briefly thank you for your public testimony. Really appreciate you coming out this evening, and I will be closing the public hearing. The public testimony portion of the hearing. At this point, the next part of our meeting is that the commission begins to deliberate. We start with a discussion where we can ask staff or the petitioners any questions we have on the application material. Once we're kind of done feeling like questions have been answered, we'll start the deliberation, looking at the specific criteria for approval of a final plan. So I'll open it up to any commissioners. Please.
I just want to say you brought up a really beautiful point about the homes on the northern part of Berthoud and even McDonald's sinking into the ground. And so I was wondering if the petitioner could speak to that piece in terms of what are we doing with the foundations? Is there a similar issue? Is it similar soil? How can we just make sure that doesn't happen? Because I agree, plenty of people who can't sell their homes up there.
We've done quite a few soil borings all throughout the project, and nothing has turned up anything that would require that drastic of a mitigation. There's some areas may need some over-X, which is common in this area, but nothing has turned up, and it's pretty extensive soil borings throughout the project. And in addition to that, the builders themselves do their own soil borings on top of that. So we're confident we've got good soils there.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to come back with my question about the phase of the development. And also, that's what I was wondering. I mean, you present a very nice project. I mean, mainly the park and the south part of the park. So what is going to be for the residents only and for the public? Because you showed the big, the big views and everything, and there's a pool and everything. What is going to be public for the town and only for residents?
Well, the pool and the amenity center will be owned by the district. And it will have to comply with district public access rules, very similar to what you have at Wagner Farm Park. You know, there is controlled access to the pool because you don't want everybody running in, but there will be fees established in accordance with the state law for districts on who can access it. But other than that one area of the amenity center, we're not controlling access to anything else, to the trail, to the anything else but that. And the district has to allow public access to the pool, but it is just like the town charges a fee. There'll be a fee structure to do that.
So the public will have access, but paying an access fee.
There will be. I wish our district attorney was here to answer that, but yes, there will. They have. It's. Let me just say it's has to be public, but there will be the homeowners will pay a fee, and there's also a fee equivalent to what the homeowners are paying in their taxes and all, that if someone outside wants to come in, they pay that fee.
Okay. And and all the rest, you know, there was a building with a nice view. So all of this is public or only for residents?
The only area other than the amenity center was what I was telling you, was Sunset Terrace.
Yeah.
And that is not controlled access. So that's, we don't plan on controlling access. So anybody on the trail can go to Sunset Terrace.
Maybe to clarify, because I'm a little confused. You have you had Sunset Terrace, and then you also had a building with a pretty roof, and it showed tables, and almost it looked like a little.
Yeah, that will be the controlled access part of it, because that's part of the pool. And
so that's part of the pool complex. That
yes,
building itself won't be generally accessible to the public.
Yeah.
Correct.
So what about this here?
Yes, that's all controlled access.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it's not for everybody in Burton. It's just for the residents.
It is again, it's I realize I'm parsing words, but I'm trying to be legally correct. It is a district facility. So district facilities are public. The district controls it just like the town controls Wagner Farm Park, where they control the fees in there and set the fees on what is equivalent for everybody pays the same. Obviously, if you're not paying the district taxes, you would have to pay more to go to the pool.
So I think if I could clarify, so this is very similar to like Gateway Park Pool, where residents have access to it. You can invite your friends to come. They don't have to live in the neighborhood, but that neighborhood pays certain fees to have access to that particular pool. Vantage has the same thing. Certain homes in Vantage have access to the TPC pool as well. Again, you can invite friends. It's public in the sense that they don't say you can't come in. You do pay a fee, but you have to be with a resident, and you typically pay a different kind of fee to come in.
Well, even more than that, you don't have to be a resident.
Yeah.
It's an established fee, but again, there's a resident fee because they pay the district taxes, and then there's a non-resident fee, much like anyone. Berthoud's kind of unusual. Most of the time with a library, there's a resident fee, and if you're outside of that town, you pay a higher fee to go to a town library. It's very similar to that.
Okay.
So is there restaurants in this building? Is there planned to be food courts? I mean, how would you control the public in or out?
No, there is a warming kitchen in there. It's not meant to be a full blown restaurant. There'll be a warming kitchen in there where, you may have catering and events and stuff like that in there, but it's not a restaurant at all. There's no restaurant facilities in there. It's strictly a warming kitchen and a service area.
So anybody could ride their bike or walk through this area and enjoy it and nobody's.
Like I said, the building and the pool complex will be controlled by the district, and they have to comply with the public access rules for a district, which is state law. I'm not an attorney. I can't go into all of that, but it's not any different than any other district that has amenity centers. Very similar to that. But no, there are no restaurants in there. It's a warming kitchen and a gathering area for people to come in there.
And do you know what the elevation is of the Sunset and of like the terrace? Just like, you know, planned development that's going to happen on the other side of 287. Like, is that just going to obstruct it? Or is there like a higher elevation at the point where that's going to be built?
You know, the elevation of Sunset Terrace is probably, I think, what, Jesse, 30, 35 feet above 287. So it's the nicest property in the whole development. And one of the things you do, you usually put the most expensive homes there. We decided to put the amenity center there because it's such a strategic vantage point to look out there. So we got some pretty good elevation. I cannot imagine anything. First off, I think the other side of 287, I know there's some conservation easement over there. I would be surprised if anything develops over there, but even if it did, it'd have to be really, really tall to conflict with the view.
So I saw in one of the documents where it says Metro District / HOA. Is there both proposed?
You know, sometimes when you have townhome developments or condo developments, the builder will choose to have their own HOA inside of the district. We don't foresee that, but it could happen. The intent is the district handles most of all the common area maintenance.
Is the district service agreement already been approved?
Yes.
And then for tract F, was that split or into like an outlot in tract F, or is it still the L shape? Because there's one image for final plat that had that split, and then the next image for final plat had that combined.
Haven't memorized all the tracks. If we got a map we can put up, I'll be I'm sure I can answer your question.
There's like 40. Yeah. And then in like the comparison one that I think is the next slide. So the preliminary was the split one. Okay, so that was combined. That answers that question.
Commissioner Peeler, did you have some traffic questions?
Yeah.
Okay, you all familiar?
Reminding me. Yeah, so I know this is happening in like phases. And then is Spartan going to be a part of one of the first phases? I think you mentioned it wasn't going to be included in the first phase to have it come off of 287.
It is not required for the first residential units that we're putting in. We will be building it from Berthoud Parkway over to just past the park first, and then as part of some of the lots in the southerly part, that's how they get access. So we will be building that section all the way out to 287. We're not required to connect to 287. We want to connect to 287. We're in CDOT permitting right now. Depending on the time of the CDOT permitting, we want to make that connection as soon as we can.
And this may be a question for Luke. But a lot of the like CR4 and Berthoud Parkway, like all of that went to like F with this. Is there like concerns for that? I know a lot of people like run that Berthoud Parkway, people ride their bikes. It's like a hill, and you come off CR4 and it's like you come down the hill. So I imagine that would become a lot more dangerous.
The applicant's traffic engineer is here if you want to ask some more detail.
This is Ruth Rollins, our traffic engineer. She's forgotten more about traffic than I'll ever know, so we'll let her take over.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. It's a privilege to be here tonight. Gosh, well, how did this work for you, Don? I feel, okay. I'll talk a little bit louder.
Can be strong enough, or you take the mic.
Okay. I just feel like I'm normally not leaning down, so that's why it's weird. There we go. Okay. So there's no level of service F like on Berthoud Parkway, in any of the intersections. Even with the full build out, there's no level of service F. So can you be real specific on what you're remembering?
Yeah, I mean, so the Fs I think was on CR4 in general.
Oh, County Road 4.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
then it was mainly with turning left.
It is. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yes. County Road 4 at 287.
So yeah, I guess it's two parts. It's that, and then it's also like Berthoud Parkway with that like intersection. You come over the road and then down the hill, and like that's a dangerous intersection. I guess it's a two-part question.
So all along County Road 4.
Yeah.
Okay. So County Road 4 at 287, when I did the analysis, if it were to remain stop control, the analysis looked at that and it's most assuredly a level of service F in the long range future. Okay. That intersection is being studied by CDOT with their median project. And I believe that they're going to be restricting movements at that location. But I don't want to guarantee that because things are somewhat in flux. Luke might have more information on that particular component. So they would be eliminating that left turn. Okay. And so everybody, most likely that you could come north on 287 and make a right turn onto County Road 4, or you could be on County Road 4 and make a right turn to go north on 287. Okay. Yes.
I remember there was a plan for a stoplight over there.
Yes.
Why has it been removed?
We're actually, the town and Larimer County are in talks with CDOT to ensure that a signal is put at 4E as was previously planned. You may recall previous versions of this submittal also include a traffic signal at Spartan, which is in flux, I should say. So having a signal at 4E is pretty essential to the town. So we're fighting CDOT for that.
As far as I remember, there was something we discussed for the previous presentation, and we had, in a way, to guarantee that there's going to be a stoplight over there, which would, solve a little bit the problem because the traffic will be huge, and unless the Spartan access is done, also with a stoplights, sorry, we're going to have problems over there. It's already difficult on the County Road 4 to go left. Most of the time I go back to Main Street, and because I'm living south, I go back to Main Street, then I'm sure I'm not taking any risk. So I remember that it was almost guaranteed that there would be a stoplight over there, and I just don't understand why it has been removed. Honestly, and it creates a lot of problem for the future when this development has been.
Yes, so Commissioner Hoffman's and members of the Planning Commission, if I may, the town has been in coordination with Larimer County and CDOT. We had a call as early as yesterday, the day before, with CDOT to discuss moving the anticipated light at 2E up to 4E, because going down South Berthoud Parkway from 4E to 2E is actually through privately maintained roads and not county jurisdiction roads. So we are in constant communication with CDOT. Luke is preparing some analysis on our growth projections to get back to CDOT. They are reviewing their access plans for the area and understand the town's development pressure in that particular quadrant of Berthoud. And while they will most likely not allow a full movement access at Spartan in 287, they are allowing some access. We are just in constant communication because the town doesn't control those intersections. CDOT does. However, Luke and our town administrator and myself, we have been working with CDOT to ensure that there is safety, and CDOT was not necessarily aware of all of our development pressures. They are a referral agency, they're just different offices. So we are working very closely with CDOT to ensure that we will have safe intersections.
So
What is
ultimately,
safe
that's,
intersection?
We want lights at 4E and we would like to have a light at Spartan. However, we can't control that. CDOT controls that. That is our desire.
Yeah.
And that's what we are pushing for.
Yeah, that's what we were discussing. I even remember talking about the 3 stop lights in a very short distance. And we all agreed that it's going to slow down the traffic over there and probably make all of these stop lights probably safer.
Yes, and that is our goal as well. And again, we are working very closely with CDOT on these remedies. They are in a public process right now of their designs for a very big stretch of Highway 287, and we realized that they weren't accommodating our growth, and they've put the brakes on their project a little bit in order to get analysis from us so that that can be configured into their planning.
but ultimately CDOT makes the final decision.
Ultimately, CDOT does make that final decision.
I think it's important to note too, I think it was maybe 2 meetings ago where we discussed the traffic study that was completed. So to the staff's credit, I think everybody's well aware of the concerns, and it was indicated on the traffic study as well. So just want to point that out for the public that maybe didn't see that meeting, but the town did its own traffic study recently, and that was a big highlight of probably 2 or 3 areas of concern, I guess, for future development. So.
Yep, and that is a model that Luke has, and he is managing that model and has provided that to CDOT recently for this particular situation to help illustrate why we need these 2 intersections with that movement.
Madam Chair, may I comment on that?
Sure, please.
The Spartan connection, obviously it's been in the town's long range plan for a while. It actually helps because it provides another access out of Berthoud. So it's a second access to 287. Now, right now, CDOT is conceded they will allow all movements except for a left out to go southbound, but they've conceded all the other intersection movements except that. We've been at the table with CDOT as well as the town to try to push that forward. We're really willing and able to put that light in. We're going to design that intersection so that if the light's ever approved there, it can go in with minimal modification. But the bottom line is this Spartan connection actually helps the traffic in Berthoud overall instead of
Well,
takes
if-
away.
If there is a stoplight, because otherwise, if you say only turn to the north, right turns, so then you're gonna have a big problem on Mountain Avenue because nobody wants to go. I mean, if they have to go south, the only solution, is to go to the Mountain Avenue stoplight.
But you take a lot of the traffic that's already in that intersection. In other words, if I'm southbound, instead of turning left on the mountain, I come on down and I turn left into Spartan. So you do take some of the traffic off of that mountain and
but
287
all the people want
intersection.
to go to the north.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. If you want to,
We'll have to go to Mountain Avenue because if they don't have a stoplight on Spartan or on County Road 4, the solution is to go north on the Mountain Avenue, but then all the traffic is on Mountain Avenue.
I'll let you
Yep, and
address that.
we've conveyed that to CDOT as well, that without these intersections as planned, that the displacement of traffic will go elsewhere and cause a ripple effect of negative impacts. So they are keenly aware of the impact to Berthoud.
And again, I think that's why the model that the town has put together is so important because, when we look at an individual development, we look at the impact of the roads around that, But obviously this has impact on the larger roadways. It's like squeezing a balloon, right? It's going, the air is going somewhere. And so I think that the new model we have is really a wonderful tool to understand how this affects that more global network.
And something else I just wanted to kind of bring back to this development right now. What's being proposed right now does not require any traffic signals. It will add some traffic, but it does not require any improvements to 287 to work as proposed today. There will be future traffic studies with the future phases of this development, and if they triggered a traffic signal, they would either have to put a traffic signal in or they would not be able to move forward with that development. So what we're discussing tonight does not need any traffic signals on 287.
That's an important distinction. Thank you.
Does
453 additional houses and no impact on traffic?
Impacts, but no signal warrants are satisfied with it. And so you cannot put a signal in until you meet certain criteria, period. So this level of development would not trigger that. And understand that we have traffic that's going south, we have traffic that's going north and east, a little bit going west. So I looked at all of that for both the full build out of this project and for just this phase. And when I did this phase, I actually had more homes in the initial phase in my traffic analysis. So I had 489, I think, homes. So I had, at that moment in time, I had estimated even more than they're actually proposing tonight. So we do have improvements, just not on 287. They're all really focused along Berthoud Parkway.
So speaking of Spartan Avenue, heading east, will Spartan Avenue eventually continue, or is I mean, is this part of the plan for traffic movement or not?
There are plans, if you're talking like east of the school,
Yes.
going east. There have been plans for a railroad crossing and connecting Spartan across across to First Street, County Road 15. I think the thing holding that up right now is the railroad company and getting a crossing agreement done.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure that would alleviate some, I don't know how much traffic, but some traffic.
I guess the next is our formal deliberation. As outlined in the staff report, staff has found that the application meets the criteria for approval as outlined in the Berthoud zoning code. I would ask if you could briefly put those criteria up on the screen. And then ask the question of the commission, do the commission agree that these standards have been met? And or are there any standards in which a commission member wishes to discuss or review in more detail?
No, from what I've read, I mean, when you compare what the requirements are to what the actions are, I think the requirements have been met.
I would concur.
I agree.
Great. If the commission concurs, I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the final plat known as Legacy Park. Planning Commission's findings are based on the criteria for approval found in section 30-6108 of the municipal code as discussed in the staff report.
A second.
Second. A roll call vote. May I ask Samantha to take the roll?
Commissioner Filio,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffmans,
Yes.
Commissioner Pond,
Yes.
Commissioner Butis,
Yes.
Commissioner Taratas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Semadalis,
Yes.
Chair Sigmund.
Yes. Great. That concludes the public hearing on the final plat known as Legacy Park. Thank you all for coming that were here for this agenda item. I really appreciate your patience. It's been a multi-year project and appreciate all the input and time everybody's put into this. We're gonna move along. I think if that's all right with everybody, I know we're already, just commission members need a quick break. Great. If we could take a 10-minute break, we'll reconvene at 8 o'clock.
Cool.
I'm going to resume the meeting if I could, and the next item on the agenda is a public hearing, which I want to open on the replat for the property known as 597 Meadowlark Drive. Our staff member representing this one is again Ms. Hildebrandt. If you would give us the staff report on this project, we would appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, as Madam Chair stated, this is 597 Meadowlark Drive. The currently undeveloped property is an approximate 1.11 acres and is located north of Mountain Avenue between State Highway 287 and Meadowlark Drive in the West Side Crossing development. The subject property is currently Zone C2 or General Commercial, and the future land use map identifies this area as Suburban Business Character District, and the property is located within the Mountain Avenue corridor. This is a replat request to modify an existing access and utility easement, and more specifically, the applicant is proposing to separate the access easement from the utility easement and move said access easement 5 feet north of the utility easement, thereby resulting in 2 separate easements. The subject lot was originally created in 2023 as Lot 2 of the West Side Crossing Replat Number 2. At the time of platting in 2023, a 20-foot wide access and utility easement was dedicated running east-west across the center of the subject lot, as seen highlighted in the yellow in the image on the screen. The applicant is currently pursuing site plan review approval for a proposed AutoZone retail store at this site. So as part of the site plan or site design, a proposed sidewalk would encroach into this existing easement. So while a sidewalk may be located within a utility easement, a sidewalk cannot be located within an access easement. An access easement is intended just for that, is required to remain free and clear for vehicle access. Therefore, the applicant is proposing to separate the utility easement from the access easement and shift the access easement 5 feet north, as seen in the yellow highlighted area in the image on the right. The utility easement, along with the installed utilities, so our water utilities are already in place, would remain in place as the proposed sidewalk does not interfere with the function of that utility easement. As a result of this modification, the sidewalk would no longer be within the access easement, and that's what's important. This slide reflects those staff and referral agencies that received a referral request and are typically assigned a review for any replat application specific to an easement modification. In reviewing the application materials, each reviewing party is expected to either confirm they have no concern or they provide requests for modification based upon code requirements. Each subsequent submittal made by an applicant is then expected to address the requested revisions of that review, similar to the application we just heard. In this particular case, the application completed 2 rounds of referral agency and staff review, meaning all requests for revisions made by staff and reviewing agencies were adequately addressed by the second submittal, and therefore the replat request was allowed to advance to public hearing. Section 5 of the Town Development Code provides the following development regulations, and this is under our current code, as seen in your packet and on the screen, to evaluate the application. Staff finds that the 597 Meadowlark Drive replat requests meet the development requirements. Specific details on how the project are meeting these regulations are provided in the staff report. And you will note in the staff report some of these are not applicable, and that is noted. Therefore, staff recommend Planning Commission make a motion to recommend approval of the 597 Meadowlark Drive replat to the Board of Trustees based on meeting the development regulation statements found in Section 30-5-101 of the Berthoud Development Code. And that, in summation, is my presentation, and I can take any questions you may have.
Any initial questions for staff?
I just have a quick one. Who holds that access easement or has jurisdiction over that? Is that a town thing or?
Nope. So it's a publicly dedicated easement, and so it's for use of that subdivision. So certainly it would be the property owner that would be responsible for keeping it free and clear. But otherwise, it is for public use. So that easement that technically, is maintained by the property owner and the development, any others within the development.
So regardless, it's, some, you mentioned that they are working on potentially putting an auto zone on that property.
Mhm.
That doesn't go through. They've taken into consideration that this would have to happen either way. It wouldn't affect any future development if the auto zone doesn't work out, for example, correct?
Correct.
It's going to need to happen either way.
Yeah, likely.
No matter who goes.
Yeah.
I have a similar kind of question that relates to that one. So in terms of the sidewalk going kind of right in the middle of this particular lot that they have in question, so my brain is making the assumption of is that the auto zone may go on the north side or the south side, but there would be two kind of big box stores on either side that you can like walk between them essentially.
Good question. Yeah. So the AutoZone store is actually going to be located south of the easement. So the sidewalk would be adjacent to their north facade. So along the south boundary of the easement. So again, it connects, to your point, around the front of the building, would connect then along the north so that it goes out then to the public sidewalks adjacent to Meadowlark and then internal to West Side Crossing. And then the remaining portion, they have additional parking and some just open landscaping. So there will only be one building on this property and then the rest of their parking and then, just an open landscape area, and their trash enclosure is also on that side of the easement.
Safe walkability.
Yes, and that is a requirement of our development code. So clear circulation and pedestrian movement to adjacent properties and the entirety of the development. So connectivity is very important and is required by our development code. Yeah.
Is the applicant here and wanting to do a presentation?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. I'd welcome you to come up if you have anything to add, please.
Staff did a great job. I don't have much to add. For the interest of time, I'll try to go through my presentation a little bit quicker than I was intending. Good evening, Planning Commission. Thank you for hearing our application tonight. My name is Doug Jones. I'm with Galloway, here on behalf of AutoZone. We're the surveying and engineering consultants on this project. And like we said, we're here to talk about this replat. The project is this lot 2, West Side Crossing, right at that northeast corner of Mountain Avenue and Highway 287. We're currently undergoing our site plan application as well, though that's not quite what we're here to talk about. As staff presented, we are keeping the utility easement in place and planning to separate the access easement from it, shift it 5 feet to the north. This will allow us to comply with the Mountain Avenue corridor overlay setback standards while maintaining AutoZone's operational needs and pedestrian connectivity through the site. As we just saw, the approval criteria for the replat, and I'll quickly touch on these. Starting with the first one here of complement the town's historic development patterns and fit into the context of existing and planned development on surrounding properties. This is a really minimal shift on our site that will not impact the other properties in any negative way. They still will have the cross access through the site. We're not impacting the utilities that are already installed. So very minimal impact. Adhere to the vision established in the Comprehensive Plan, Land Development Code, Overlay Districts, and Master Plans. Several of them listed there. This replat is in compliance with the Land Use Code and the engineering standards, as well as the site plan being in compliance with all the applicable standards as well. Ensure there is sufficient provision for public utilities, services, and facilities. The town water infrastructure is already in place, and we do not intend to modify the easement protecting that. The easement will remain, as well as shifting the access easement to allow the pedestrian circulation through the site to neighboring sites. Mitigate negative impacts on the development of the surrounding property. This does not negatively impact surrounding properties. I would argue essentially no impact, as they still have all the same access rights. Address a need or desirability within Berthoud. This isn't really applicable to the replat, and any concerns would be addressed in the site plan review. All applicable local, state, federal permits will be obtained with the project. And then address such matters as the town may deem necessary through the course of the project, and specifically related to the replat. No additional concerns have been expressed for us to address. So in conclusion, thank you for hearing our presentation tonight, and we respectfully request moving forward with an approval. And then there were a few questions on the site layout, and I don't know if that made our presentation here, but it was intended to.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So can I ask a question? What is driving this shift? It's a 5-foot shift. It's not huge. What's driving?
It really is a sidewalk along the north side of the building. Let's see. I can pass down a very small picture of the site plan if that would assist here too.
What's that?
So as the building's sitting here, we are wanting to install a sidewalk on the side of the building. As AutoZone receives their deliveries in the morning. So, we have worked down to make sure that the deliveries won't take place in the evening, but utilize the sidewalk. This also creates an impact going west and to the north to allow that connectivity. So really, it's just shifting that access easement so that the sidewalk is not in.
Which side is the front door going to be on?
Front door faces east, with the building situated on the west side of that south parcel, or south portion.
So it's really just an access for materials.
Yeah, really, the main focus is the pedestrian movement, and then allowing people to walk through there.
And so, yeah, when you're done with that exhibit, we'll need to keep that just for the record. Thank you.
Any other initial questions for the applicant? Otherwise, I'd like to open the public testimony portion of the hearing. Perfect. We'll open that public testimony. Is there anybody here who signed up to speak on this matter? Okay, there is nobody noted. Is there anybody in the audience that didn't sign up that wants to speak on this matter? Hearing none, I will go ahead and close the public testimony. And I will now turn to the deliberation portion for the commission on this matter. If I could ask staff to put up the criteria. While that's happening, I think staff has done a good job. They've outlined in their staff report, they have found that staff has found that the application meets the formal criteria for approval as outlined in the Berthoud zoning code. I think the applicant has done a good job of also going through those specific standards. And so I want to ask, does the commission agree that these standards have been met? And are there any standards that you'd like to discuss further?
I agree.
It's great.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I forgot to ask if anybody had any more detailed questions for staff or the applicant. I jumped ahead right to. Okay. Having found that the commission agrees, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move that we recommend approval of the replat request for the property known as 597 Meadowlark Drive to the Town Board of Trustees. Commission's findings are based on the criteria for approval found in section 30-5-101 of the municipal code as discussed in the staff report.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Motion is second. Ms. Manza, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Hoffmans?
Yes.
Commissioner Filio?
Yes.
Commissioner Butis?
Yes.
Commissioner Pond?
Yes.
Commissioner Taratzis?
Yes.
Vice Chair Semadalis?
Yes.
Chair Sigmund?
Yes. And with that, this closes the public hearing on the replat for the property known as 597 Meadowlark Drive. Before we move to the next hearing item, want to point out that when I received the packet, I was concerned that I had some potential conflicts. I consulted with staff and the village attorney, and they thought out of an abundance of caution, I should recuse myself from this matter. So I will. I will be leaving this matter in the capable hands of our vice chair, Commissioner Semadalis, and leave you to do the next portion of the meeting. Thank you. Thanks so much for everybody for being here. And this is the, sorry.
Oh, no.
That's the people who have asked us.
Okay, so thank you. We'll get started here. That's not something. All right, well, let's get started here. All right, so our next hearing has to do with the Heron Lakes Marina filing number 22 neighborhood master plan. And with that, who's presenting on this?
Hello.
No. Miss Manzo, I think you're presenting right there. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. I will be right back.
You have to do everything here, you know.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Commissioners and attendees for your patience during all of our many technical issues this evening. My name is Bella Manzo, and I'm a planner with the town of Berthoud, and I will be presenting this evening on the Neighborhood Master Plan request for the Heron Lakes Marina, or the Heron Lakes 22nd Filing Neighborhood Master Plan request. So on this slide, you will see the property highlighted in bright blue. The currently undeveloped 37.79 acre subject property is located south of West County Road 14 and north of Lone Tree Reservoir, between Rabbit Run Lane on the west and Heron Lakes Parkway on the east. The property is currently zoned R4 within the town of Berthoud. That's the mixed-use zone district. However, it allows for a variety of uses, including single-family residential, which I'll discuss further later in the presentation. The property is designated suburban residential as the Suburban Residential Character District on the future land use map found within the 2021 Comprehensive Plan. Per the Comprehensive Plan, the Suburban Residential Character District is intended to provide for neighborhoods with primarily single-family detached, single-family attached homes such as duplexes, and triplexes. Per the Town of Berthoud Trails Master Plan, the property is not envisioned for planned neighborhood or regional trails. However, an existing neighborhood trail and a planned trail crossing opportunity are located to the east of the property, indicated by the purple and white plus that you can see on the enlarged map on the right of the slide. So there are no trails envisioned on this property or crossing, but there are some adjacent. As far as the open space plan, the property is not currently envisioned for open space per the Town of Berthoud open space plan, and you can see that as indicated by the gray shading on the slide. The applicant is proposing the following request for a neighborhood master plan for a proposed residential development inclusive of 49 single-family and 56 duplex or paired home lots to total 105 total residential lots. As a reminder, and for those joining us this evening that are a little less familiar with the timelines and process for the development review stages, the Neighborhood Master Plan is one of the very first stages in the development review process. This is a concept plan, and the review and ultimate timing for this portion of the development review process takes about 4 to 6 months. From that point, the project moves on to preliminary plat, which can take between 12 and 18 months. This is highly dependent on the quality of the submittal that we receive from the applicant, so all of the timelines that you see indicated on the screen can vary depending on what we receive and how long the applicant takes to address comments received during rounds of review. From the preliminary plat phase, a project moves to the final plat and development agreement phase. This final step takes about 8 to 12 months. Again, highly dependent on the quality of the submittal. And then following final plat, the applicant moves into pre-construction steps, and for commercial development would then move into use by special review or site plan review. To provide a little background on the project, the property was 32.44 acres of the property was annexed into the town of Berthoud and zoned R4 in 2018. The property was zoned R4 with, I quote, an additional permitted use of motor coach. However, that is not currently an allowed use within the town of Berthoud. The remaining 6.29 acres of the property was annexed into the town of Berthoud in 2019 as the case annexation and was also zoned R4. The neighborhood master plan is a conceptual design of a development and is required with a rezoning or major subdivision application. However, this applicant has decided to proceed with the neighborhood master plan as a standalone step before they proceed to preliminary plat. This phase depicts the applicant's vision for the overall development, including zoning, transportation, pedestrian network, parks, open space, subdivision identity standards, and other amenities. The neighborhood master plan is binding on a development, and all future platting or zoning actions must follow the approved plan or apply for amendment of said plan. And as we discussed in a previous item today, there is some variance, but it is very small, and any future plans must substantially agree with the neighborhood master plan. This slide shows a bit more on the potential location of subdivision identity and place elements, as well as open space elements and trail sidewalk locations as required by the Town of Berthoud Development Code. Final details of the elements, including exact locations, would be confirmed with the next phase preliminary plat, when the applicant moves more from that conceptual design into the next phase of design where they start to do a little bit more engineering. This slide reflects those staff and agencies that received a referral request and are those typically assigned a review for each and every neighborhood master plan application that the town receives. In reviewing the application materials, they provide comments and requested revisions based upon code requirements. Each subsequent submittal made by the applicant is then expected to address the requested revisions during that review. In this particular case, the application completed 3 rounds of referral agency review, meaning all requests for revisions made by staff and referral agencies were adequately addressed by that 3rd submittal, and therefore the neighborhood master plan was allowed to advance to public hearing. I will mention that as part of the review, there were 2 comments that were received that took some time to work through with the applicant to address. The first was from the Consolidated Home Supply Ditch and Reservoir Company. They met with staff and the applicant and extensively discussed the comments, and ultimately they determined that they were resolved at this stage, and any further engineering comments would be resolved at preliminary plat. So they confirmed with staff that their comments were received and addressed, or would be addressed during the next phase. The second comment is that there is additional ongoing, There's ongoing coordination between Little Thompson Water District, Town of Berthoud Water Utilities, and the applicant in determination of the exact water service provider for this proposed development. So that will be determined at the preliminary plat phase. It was decided based on conversations. That is not uncommon at this point in a concept plan. So we will be discussing that further in the application, but that is a condition of the approval that the applicant must provide evidence of determination of water service with their very first submittal for preliminary plat before they're allowed to proceed. As a reminder, this application was received under the previous development code, and as such, these are the criteria on the screen that you see from that code. Section 6 of the code states that this town shall use the following review criteria as seen in your packet and on the screen, in addition to other applicable provisions of the code to evaluate the application. In order to approve a neighborhood master plan, the criteria must be met. Staff find that the Heron Lakes Marina Neighborhood Master Plan request meets the Neighborhood Master Plan review criteria. Specific details on how the project are meeting those criteria are provided in the staff report. And therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission make a motion to recommend approval of the Heron Lakes Marina Neighborhood Master Plan with the conditions outlined in the staff report to the Town Board of Trustees. And with that, I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. All right, does anyone have any questions for staff? I guess I have one. Just to confirm, the water confirmation, water provider, that's for non-potable?
That's for overall water service. So both Little Thompson Water District and the Town of Berthoud have expressed that they are willing to serve the development, but just determination of exactly who will be provided because there's some additional coordination.
Okay.
Yes. That's a great question. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Are we going to have a presentation of you?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manzo.
Thank you.
All right.
Don't worry about the technical.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Good job. Yeah.
Okay. So the next step in the process is we're going to have the applicant come up and do his presentation.
Thank you. My name's Jim Birdsall, part of the ownership group at Heron Lakes in TPC, Colorado. And thanks to staff for their presentation. I think it was very well done and very comprehensive. I think we have a couple of slides that I wanted to go over. Oh, okay. So just to get you oriented, so this would be along County Road 14 on the very north shore or north edge of Lone Tree Reservoir, kind of on the northwest corner of what's currently planned as Berthoud. One thing that is probably worth mentioning is I don't remember exactly the year. It was several years ago, at least 10. The town had a very controversial annexation called the Haworth annexation, which was annexed to the town and then de-annexed, or disconnected is the legal term. And I've been told, and I believe it's the only property to ever be de-annexed in Larimer County. And so it was then developed in the county called Longs Peak Farms, and it's along Highway 56, just west of 287. And at the time that was de-annexed by the town did a vote of the citizens and passed an ordinance, or I don't know the exact terminology, but basically any property west of County Road 19 and County Road 19 extended to the north or south has to go to a vote of the citizens in order to annex. Both of these properties, what we know as the Ward property and the Case property combined, which have now become this phase, had to go to a vote. So we had 2 votes of the entire citizenry of Berthoud to determine whether those properties should be annexed or not. And both of them passed by quite a bit. I think one was nearly 80%, the other one was in the mid 70s. So just an FYI that this project uniquely has been presented to the entire town with the idea, should this property annex? And at the time, we proposed mixed use zoning. We didn't know yet what our uses would be for sure, but one of the uses that we really were interested in is what we call a Class A RV resort or motor coach resort. And our thought was, in conjunction with the rest of the project, doing a very high-end RV resort would be interesting and probably successful. We obviously are not pursuing that now. We've decided that isn't what we consider to be the highest and best use of that property, but that was discussed during the annexation process for both parcels. So just some background there. So this map just kind of shows its orientation again to the rest of the neighborhood. So if you're familiar with the golf course, this is west of holes 6 and 7, again on the north side of Lone Tree Reservoir and adjacent to County Road 14. It was mentioned in the staff presentation that the community trails plan doesn't show a trail in this location, but we consider this to be a pretty unique opportunity for our residents of this phase to connect to the Colorado Front Range Trail, which extends through Heron Lakes and goes north to Loveland. So our plan is to do a trail that will connect to the intersection of Heron Lakes Parkway and County Road 14, all the way along hole 6, or golf hole 6, along the south side of County Road 14, and then along the entire frontage of our property. At some point in the future, the town may decide that trail could get extended further west and connect to the Jaskowski property, which is disconnected from this property by a few county properties. But that would be an opportunity, in our opinion, to provide great connectivity for our residents to get to the rest of Heron Lakes, and likewise to the trail system. I noticed driving in tonight that the town is completing the last remaining sidewalk connection that will connect those properties north of 287 to town. And our neighborhood connects the trail to that intersection of Heron Lakes Parkway and County Road 14. And Loveland, I know, is working on getting their trail connection made from that location up to King Soopers. So I think within the foreseeable future, the next few years, someone from downtown Berthoud would be able to be on a non-motorized trail and connect from town all the way to the Loveland Trail, which connects to the Poudre Trail, which connects to Fort Collins, to Windsor, to Greeley. So we're this close away from some really fantastic trail connections, and I think this trail that we're proposing is a nice addition to that. As was mentioned, so we're proposing a much lower density than could be allowed in the R4 zone district. When we did our initial master planning, when we were sizing our utilities, we had planned for 300 units here, thinking that at least a portion of the project could be an RV park, as I mentioned, or townhomes. And we're not proposing any attached product, obviously no RV park. So this is all single family, detached, and duplexes. So no townhomes or any higher density product. So a total of 105 units on just over 35 acres. So relatively low density. We're also pretty excited about the lots that are on the south side or southeast side of this project. We have had a number of meetings, as was mentioned in the staff report, with the Consolidated Home Supply Reservoir Company that owns and manages Lone Tree Reservoir. The Heron Lakes project has a 20-year lease for the recreation and surface rights. We're in discussions with them to extend that. We're also in discussions with them to make these lots have more of a lakefront feel. And we have a lot of work to do to figure out if that's feasible to put their ditch into a pipe where these lots would then feel like they're directly lakefront. They could have docks and boats in their backyards, but that's a goal of ours, and we're hopeful that we can get that worked out. And we've been meeting with them. As staff mentioned, we met with them here at Town Hall to coordinate their comments on this project, but we've had 2 meetings with them since, including a meeting with their board. We actually met with them today to talk about some regional stuff that we're working on and this project as well. So very good relationship with them, and we're optimistic we can make something exciting work there. So as I mentioned, nearly every lot backs to open space or to the reservoir. We have a mix of products that meets the town requirements for the diversity of product types. We currently don't have any duplexes within our project. And so we're excited about that. We think that's going to be a product that could be very well received. And then a mix of single family detached as well. And then we've begun the design of our neighborhood park, and we've hit the point criteria for the town. And as we've mentioned on other phases and other projects, this is obviously the beginning of our design process with the town. And as we further refine the project, we'll continue to work with staff to make that park as interesting and unique as possible. And admittedly, we haven't put a ton of work into it yet because we don't know for sure if the town's going to like, our layout and et cetera. So that'll get further refined as we work through the preliminary plat. And excited to work on it. I think that could be a really nice amenity for the neighborhood. So right now we have, plans for playground equipment, a pollinator garden, bocce, park shelters, horseshoes, etc. Trying to find amenities that sort of cater to who we expect to be our users there. But again, please look at this as a starting point, not an ending point on that park design. So with that, I'd be happy to address any questions you might have.
Commissioner, any questions? I just had a couple of quick questions. So if this moves forward and you actually develop this, does that become a new separate metro district from all the other ones within Heron Lakes?
Great question. So Heron Lakes is made up of 17 metro districts. So this would be one of those 17. So it would be part of the overall metro district, but it wouldn't be part of any of our existing districts that have existing residents.
They would
in
have
them.
their own board
They would have their own board.
under the purview of the main board. Or
Correct.
I'm not saying that right, but
Yep.
So just based off this concept, it looks like there's at least a couple existing homes that will be removed.
That is the plan. There's a couple of existing homes, and then there's a big outbuilding, is what I would call it, or a barn. And all of that is planned to be removed. Yep.
And that, just for my information, at what point in the process does that come where you negotiate to buy those people out, or how does that
We
work?
already have that. That came with the purchase of the property. So the Case family is still renting back from us. So that's the house it would be further east, and then the Ward house is further west, and we have a renter in that house.
Okay.
But the Case family, they know that we're moving forward with this, although slowly. But at some point, when we're ready to begin developing, that we would have to ask them to move on, and they're prepared for that. So, yeah. I realized there were two questions that came up, and I addressed one, which is a question about home supply, and we've been working with them, the Consolidated Home Supply Ditch Company, but there's a question about water. Our initial desire was to be provided potable water from the town of Berthoud, because the rest of our project is all provided by Berthoud. But Little Thompson has significant infrastructure in the area, and they've indicated to us that they would like us to stay in Little Thompson Water District. So that's our current plan, is that this would be served for potable water by Little Thompson Water District. The non-pot would be through the Metro District, is the current plan.
Can you detail how a trail would, for Heron Lakes residents, how you get out of the neighborhood and over to the Loveland Trail? I mean,
Yeah,
you're
let
going to
me,
do one piece of it with this project?
it's a great question, David. So the scale of this map is challenging, because it shows our whole project. But our trail currently connects along Heron Lakes Parkway to the intersection of Heron Lakes Parkway and County Road 14. That's an internal developer trail. In the future, there will be the Colorado Front Range Trail, which will go, it currently goes in front of the clubhouse, and it goes along the, the east side of TPC Parkway. And then it's supposed to continue along the ridge, going straight north, and then it will go down the ridge on the north side of our property. And it's shown on this map. I don't know if you guys can see. Does that show up? The cursor? No. Does this do something? No. I can't reach that. Sorry, that's all enough. So anyway, it kind of follows the perimeter of our property until you get into what we call the 17th filing, which is the phase that's being built immediately north of Hole 3 currently. And they just started building homes in there. And it winds through that neighborhood, and then we'll go straight north through that neighborhood and connect up to County Road 14. And then it goes north into Loveland's trail system, north of County Road 14, just east of our maintenance building. And we built a crossing at the town's request, and Loveland told us where to put it, and then they changed their mind. So the crossing that currently goes across County Road 14, or a stub sidewalk, is in the wrong location. It will be further east. It'll be east of the maintenance building, just east of it. And then from there, it goes through an easement on, I think it's called the Fancher property, and then connects to the Rhine Gulch open space property that the city bought from Bill Byerwaltis 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that, winds through his property along Rhine Gulch Reservoir, and then connects to a trail that's been built by the apartment development directly south of King Soopers, crosses Southwest 14th Street there goes along that creek and connects to the Big Thompson. So it's kind of a meandering way, but the trail has been built to the Rhines Gulch open space. So that what remains is maybe just over a mile of Loveland Trail that has not been built yet, but they have all the corridor already acquired. They've been working on design. And then our trail is designed through our property, and it will connect all the way down through the Knievel property, which is, let me think, it would be across the street from the BMX park to the west. So it connects through that property. So between our property, I think there's 3.5, almost 4 miles of the Colorado Front Range Trail on the Heron Lakes property. And then again, a mile gap to get to Loveland. And then once you get that gap closed, you can get all the way to Fort Collins or Greeley.
Is that gap Loveland or Berthoud thing?
Loveland. Yep. Yeah, which is pretty remarkable that Berthoud, in my opinion, is now ahead of Loveland in the Colorado Front Range Trail. And that's a good spot to be, in my opinion. But you guys, I'm sure, I know staff has ongoing conversations with Loveland. So if you have the opportunity to ask them to put some focus on that, that would be great. It certainly would add value to the residents of Berthoud. Yeah.
So that trail going east-west, will that be on the north side or the south side of Highway or County Road 14?
South side of 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't remember the phase, but that last phase, the phase that they're starting to build in now.
Yeah. So that's
I think
phase
that's
1 of the
17th.
17th filing.
Because
Yeah.
at one point there was a question regarding a sidewalk there, and if I recall, the answer was, well, we don't want to put a sidewalk or anything there because we want to keep a county road kind of feel. And you couldn't extend the sidewalk from, I guess, Heron Point, because it was a property in between.
Yeah, I remember the discussion. That the concern we had was about the curb. We always felt good about doing the sidewalk. We just felt like that would be a stretch of curb that there would never be curb east, there would never be curb west, and I still feel that way. I still think that that's true. But the town said, no, we want curb there. So we agreed to do curb. So the plan right now is there would be a curb, tree lawn, detached sidewalk in that location. And then the town, we're obligated to do the design, which we've done, but I think the town is obligated to construct the sidewalk between our property and the Heron Point property, but it's not a very long stretch. It's like 200 feet or something like that. Yep. And so that would connect Heron Point to the trail system as well. And, everyone in that whole area, Colony Ridge and the county properties in that area then would now have a sidewalk connection to the trail system as well. Yeah.
A question for you. Where did the marina kind of theme or name come from? Is there going to be a marina?
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, is there? Yeah. So what?
Yeah. So when we first acquired this property, it was right when we were getting the lease on Lone Tree Reservoir. And so we actually signed the lease before we had access. The state had the lease prior to us. The reservoir company had been asking the state for years, will you please do mussel inspections on the boats that are coming in and out of Lone Tree Reservoir? Because this is the potable water supply for Little Thompson and Johnstown, and all of these farmers have infrastructure. And if you let the mussel into that lake, it's going to be, devastating. And the state kept saying, yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it. Well, they never did it. And so finally the reservoir company said, enough. We've been asking you for this, and you are not managing this lake well. You're letting people party, you're letting people make messes, and you're not inspecting the boats. And so they came to us privately and said, would you be interested in having this lease? And we said, yes. When we got that, the state was very upset with us, because they lost a resource, and so they were not willing to let us use their boat ramp. And so we were like, well, how are we going to get access to this reservoir that we just signed a lease for? And it was a 20-year lease. And so the idea was to utilize this property. and that's why the name the marina came about. And when everything got scheduled and the agenda came out, I didn't really think about it, but we really should change the name because there's no plan to do a marina there currently, because we now have successfully negotiated a 20-year lease with the state on the boat ramp. So if we do a marina where we have boat storage and that sort of thing, it will be on the west side of the reservoir, not on the north side of the reservoir.
And is there property there to do a marina?
You theoretically could, but it's on the wrong side of the lake.
Right.
You know, like in Colorado with the winds that come up, if you're going to do boat storage, you really want to do it on the west side of a lake, so you have the trees and whatever to protect it. And so if we were to propose a marina here, it would be really expensive because we would have to do some jetties and that kind of thing to protect it from wind. And probably feasible. I don't know if it's financially feasible to do it. And so we don't have any plans to do that currently.
So just to be clear, so there's a 20-year lease from the ditch company and a 20-year lease from the state.
Yep.
For that property. So if one, primarily if the state jumps out.
Yeah, if the state jumps out of it, then we would be in a position where we'd have to acquire another property along that western shoreline to get access. But now that you know the emotions have calmed down, it makes sense for the state to continue to lease that property. Otherwise, there's really no value in that property for the state. So, and I mentioned early in my presentation, we're in active negotiations with the reservoir company to extend. And if we do that successfully, then we'll immediately reach out to the state and try and extend with them too. Yeah. So.
Okay. And then what is you mentioned something about some of those lots that maybe you were going to do something to put water in there to make them like water lots. Will that be a seasonal thing, or why don't you go ahead and explain what that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sure I didn't do a very good job of explaining that. So on this map, there's sort of a white line that runs along the edge of those lots. That is what I have heard called the bypass ditch of Home Supply. So there's a significant ditch. It's probably 90 feet wide from top of bank to top of bank, that allows Home Supply to bypass their reservoir and deliver water directly to their lower ditches, well, both the upper and the lower ditch. And so the idea that we've been kicking around with the reservoir company is to put that into a pipe. And so if you were to do that, then those lots that back up to Lone Tree Reservoir, it would basically be their lot would end and it would just be reservoir company property in a flat grade that goes all the way to the lake. So there'd be a stretch of reservoir company property, but effectively those people would feel like they have lakefront lots. And what we've talked about with the reservoir company, again, early discussions, but the idea is that we would have a permanent license agreement with them to allow these lot owners to cross that reservoir company property as if it was an extension of their lot, and they could do a dock on Lone Tree, just like the Rookery lots, for example, in Heron Lakes, where they could have a boat, a dock in their backyard. So that's the idea. Again, at this point, it is just an idea. We've talked to the reservoir company about it conceptually. They're open to it conceptually. We don't yet know what that might cost. We know it's significant, but we have to balance that against the value of having these waterfront feeling lots and decide if we want to do it. But that's the idea. And the reservoir company likes, generally, I would say, putting their ditch into a pipe because it takes less maintenance. They don't have leakage. They don't have to clean it out. So it's just so much easier and less expensive for them if they can put sections of their ditch into a pipe. So generally, they're open to it. We just don't know if we can afford to do it. But that's the idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you remind me how many acres this property is?
I think it's around 36. Sure, I can tell you exactly.
37.79.
And how many lots are being proposed in this master plan?
105.
Yeah, I had a question about the geography. This is a pretty complex geography here. See the two detention ponds, one on the top left, one on the right. I guess northeast. Why put those there? And then how do you like imagine that the water is going to be routed so that it doesn't stagnate? Why put those detention ponds up north and northeast? And then what happens for the rest of the property?
Yeah, so there's really only one. So the space kind of in the middle of the project on the north is not a detention pond, that's just an open space. So there's really only one detention pond, and it's at the bottom. So that's why it's there, is because that's the direction the water's going. And it'll be, it'll have to meet all the state requirements, release within 72 hours, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not planned as anything other than detention, not retention. In a big rainstorm, it'll fill up, retain that water, and then slowly release it to the ditch and over 72 hours or less. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very detailed, thank you. All right, so with that, we're going to open up for public testimony. And from my list, I think I have just one person, Mr. Jeremy Ginther.
Hi there. Thank you guys for the time to talk here. I live at 4499 Rabbit Run Lane. I don't know if it's okay if I use your map here. I'll point out where we're at. We're county properties right here. So we, Jaskowski property is here. This is the planned property. I was here during the annexation meeting, and I wanted to point out some things that are a little inconsistent here. I mean, I know for one, we have the zoning as it is. They decide that at the annexation meeting, but I think it's interesting to note that it got R4 zoning, but when this was put in, applied for one, it would have normally never been brought into the town of Berthoud. It would have been done through the county. For one, that's why they had that election requirement. And two, the only reason I think that it could be considered is because Jaskowski property was donated to Berthoud with the intention that it's never developed. So yeah, there's a lot of conservation easements that are abutting this property, and I think that this use, along with the whole R4 zone, was really inconsistent with the town's plan at the time. But it was allowed because R4 was the only use that could possibly fit a marina. And so because they needed to do that, they pitched it that way. I brought up the concern then that, well, what if that doesn't work out? Would this turn into multifamily? The agreement was, no, we're not going to do any kind of multifamily. So here we are now, a few years later, with a bunch of duplex lots, which I would have thought would be considered multifamily. Evidently, the zoning code says duplexes are single family. But anyway, I wanted to point out on the map for the application that the math is a little bit wrong on the density. I think duplexes would be 2 dwelling units, if I'm not mistaken. And so the math here is, the math for the density is determined, it looks like, by just the total number of lots and not the total number of residential units. So I think that you guys need to look at the math there. The next thing I wanted to point out is,
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You have a 3-minute.
Oh, are we there?
limit.
Oh, I am. Okay.
You have-
All right. I wanted to just, who pays for the maintenance of the lift station, and who's paying for, and how's the road going to cross the home supply outlet canal. I'd be interested because that's the end of the road right there. Berthoud has no further plan there that I know of.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry I had to
Thank
cut
you.
it short.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we're trying to limit it to 3 minutes.
Sorry.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to? Okay.
Oh, are we discussing these items after? Okay.
Yeah. This is still public.
Yeah.
Testimony. Can you please put your? Okay, thank you, Miss Bellinger.
My name's Anita Ballinger. I live at 2594 West County Road 14, which is the property adjacent to this property that they're wanting to build the 100 and whatever homes on. I have to say what Jeremy said was spot on. You're talking about having 45 or whatever duplexes. That should count as 2 families per household, not 1 family. It's 1 family per household, but you've got it times 2. So you're increasing that number of 105 to, my math is wrong, but say 150 dwellings, 150 families living in that area. There's no real infrastructure around, and I understand they're looking at having 2 in and out access roads to get onto County Road 14, because that would be their only access to on County Road 14 to get out to the Taft area or to the rest of the Heron Point and the golf course area. The impact on the roadway, it's a 45-mile-an-hour roadway. I used to walk that roadway. I can't now. It's at least 60, 65 on that stretch of the road from Taft clear over to County Road 23. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but there's no allotment for that speed to be there. Then you've got more traffic coming in and out. You've got more issues coming into the whole entire area. It just doesn't seem feasible, maybe monetarily feasible to some, but to have something along this line out there. What is to hold it up out there besides people just to move into expensive homes, controlled homes, a whole metro property area, to an area that just it was always agriculture, was always sustained that way for years. We've lived out there for 50 years. I don't think any of you have even known the area for 50 years. Same as you. I just believe that other things need to be done and looked at for those properties. Yes, we're out. We used to be considered out in the country. We're not anymore. And that isn't. Oh, is that the timer?
You still have 30 seconds. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Squirrel. My mom is the one that owns the property. We own 9.5 acres. It goes back to the ditch property. The ditch company has a bit of the property, and that's where they've stored their dead trees, et cetera, for years. Nothing's been done there. That's all been cleared out from back there along Lone Tree from the state years ago, but there's nothing else out there. My mom is,
Miss Bellinger, your time is up. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We understand your issues and concerns. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay. All right, so if there's no one else, we don't have anyone online or anything, okay. So I'd like to thank everyone tonight for your thoughtful comments and on this proposal. And the public testimony at this point has been received, and this portion of the public hearing is now closed. It's now time for the commission to deliberate. So we're going to deliberate, and we are going to ask some questions, obviously, of the presenter. I think if you can maybe address, the from what I have here, the density. Let's talk about that first. Can you
Yeah.
address that?
So understand the question, but the number of total units is 105. So each side of the duplex is counted in that number. So it's not like there's 30 duplexes, which equals 60, so it's really 135. That's not the case. So we may have not chosen the right nomenclature, but that's the intent. So 105 total residential units, which includes both sides of the duplex in that number.
Mm-hmm.
So
Can I confirm? So what you're really talking about is the number of buildings versus if it was the U.S. Census Bureau, they would have considered it two single households in terms of counting. Because
so
it'd be one
it wouldn't
family
be the
per
number of
each.
buildings, it would be the number of residences. So in this number, a duplex counts as two. So
So you are counting it as two.
yes.
Okay.
One building.
So a total of number of like front doors,
Yeah.
there's 105.
Okay. So I think
Yeah.
that's
Thank you.
And for clarity, our land use code specifies it as a dwelling, right? And for R4, you can have a max of 20 dwellings per acre. Correct. We're
Yes, that's
below that.
correct.
I think we're below 3.
Yes, gross density per acre for this proposal is roughly 2.77,
2.77. Yeah.
and the code allows in the R4 zone district a maximum of 20 dwelling units per acre.
Yep. And if I could just jump in and clarify, so what we see on the map are smaller, narrower lots. So 2 lots will be put together, and there will be 2 paired homes or a duplex on 2 lots. So each lot represents a single family dwelling.
Okay.
And they just happen to be connected.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. All right, and I think my notes, what I have here, the second issue that came up was the lift station maintenance. I'm not familiar with that, but if you can address that.
Yep. So similar to the lift station that already exists in Heron Lakes, the construction of that would be our burden. It will be designed and constructed per the town standards. The town wants to be involved in the bidding process and overseeing the construction process, but once that is accepted, it becomes a town of Berthoud infrastructure.
Okay.
Yep. And Luke can jump in if I get this wrong, but the town has, I think, newly instituted a sanitary sewer lift station fee. So anybody that lives in a neighborhood that is served by a sanitary sewer lift station pays a fee to offset the town's expenses in operations and maintenance of that facility. So it's a piece of infrastructure that benefits a specific portion of the population, and the idea is that body of population pays for that extra expense.
Okay.
So for example, those of us that live at Heron Lakes pay a Venture District sanitary sewer lift station fee to offset the town's cost obligations for the lift station that serves our portion of Heron Lakes. That, for example. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I think the next question or concern that I have was infrastructure. So, if you could just address that as well, not just the lift station, but other infrastructure.
Sure. And that's a big part of what we work on between now and when we get final plat approval is determining what pieces of infrastructure exist, what needs to be improved or established. And similar to the entire Heron Lake subdivision, when we began that subdivision, there was no infrastructure there. So we're very familiar with the concept of understanding the road system, what improvements need to be made there, I mentioned Little Thompson would be providing potable water. They have a 16-inch main that runs along the south side of County Road 14 that we would be connecting to. I mentioned that we specifically wanted to be on Berthoud Water, and they said, hey, we've established all this infrastructure with the idea that we would serve this property, so we want to keep you in our district. The sanitary sewer, we're in that process of designing that lift station. We've submitted final plans to the town and the state, and waiting for those approvals. Working with the reservoir company on their concerns. For example, one of their concerns is that the the southeast corner of this proposal is their spillway or dam. And so what happens if that breaches? And so that's one of the things our engineering team will need to work on between now and preliminary plat is evaluating the grading of the development that we were proposing to look at what happens if that were to breach. Does that harm our lots, and how does it pass through? So we have to do that analysis. So there's just a few examples, but yeah, we'll be working hard between now and when we submit a preliminary plat on all of those infrastructure pieces. And the town has very strict requirements on what has to be included to make sure that all of that's in place.
Okay, so just to clarify, Little Thompson Water, Berthoud sewer.
Yep,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
And then Metro District non-pot.
And Metro District, no, Pat.
Yep, and then Excel Gas, REA Electric, and then data would be. I think we're going to try and get 3 different data providers in there. So it'll probably be Comcast, Lumion, and then there's Hilltop, and there's a new one, and now I've forgotten. So there may actually be 4 data providers.
Okay. And I think the concern from some of the residents, local attached residents, local residents, is if that will have a negative impact on them.
Sure. Yeah. And I appreciate that. Change is hard, and this property, our proposal will make it feel different. But the process, I think, is meant to understand what those impacts would be and try and mitigate them as best as we can. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that so far, and we'll continue to put focus on that for sure. So.
And I think the last 2 items that I had taken notes on is traffic and speed concerns. And I know that there's been a traffic study.
Yeah.
Can you maybe address that?
Yeah. So this is all relative, I understand, but the traffic levels on County Road 14 are relatively low compared to other roads within the town. There is not a lot, and the gentleman mentioned that there's a lot of conservation easements north and west of us. There's very little developable ground that would feed onto County Road 14 in the future. Nothing really to the north. There's 2 new lots that are just going in directly across from this property, but other than those 2, I'm not aware of any significant development potential on any of those properties to our north. And even west, there's probably some here or there, but most of those have already been subdivided using the state's 35-acre process. So there's very little opportunity to do additional subdivision work west. But of course, our traffic engineer takes into account potential growth, et cetera, and looks at the traffic volumes on County Road 14 and then what we're adding, and then evaluates where we might need to do additional improvements. And based on our density that's proposed, there's not significant offsite improvements necessary to make it work. The speed is a good point. Development and more intersections actually help with that, right? Because you've got turning movements and whatnot that are going to begin to slow people down. But it's an enforcement issue ultimately. And that road is quick. There's no doubt about it. It's the speaker mentioned that she used to walk on that road. I would be hesitant to walk on that road. I know a lot of people bike, that's one of the paths for, some of the long distance bikers. But it is sped. I mean, people speed on that road. There's no doubt about it. So, I think it's ultimately an enforcement issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And the gentleman over there mentioned also the history of developing this. Does the town have explanation about that? Because he said it was not intent to develop as it is today.
I don't have any history about that statement. It was annexed 10 to 20 years ago with the intent of development.
To add on to that, as far as a project background, captured in the minutes from the meeting during the annexation, there was a note that any future potential residential development would have to come back before the Planning Commission and the Town Board of Trustees for approval, and that would be this process that we're in now.
I think they clarify. I think they were talking about the lot on the other side, the agriculture lot, where it's like this one, and then their properties, and then the agriculture lot.
Yeah, the Jaskowski property.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was
that
donated.
No, that's not what they are mentioning.
No.
Yeah, that was for the annexation of this property that we're discussing.
If you want to speak.
Yes, if you'd like to speak.
So the R4
Yeah.
designation was assigned at the time of annexation, which for one of the parcels was 2018 and the other was 2019. And so that R4 district was applied at that time because as a property comes into annex, it must be zoned. So that zoning designation was R4. That additional permitted use was allowed. And then that note in the minutes was also there. But as far as recorded documentation, that is all that we have for the uses contemplated at that time in town records.
And Vice Chair, if I may, it's also important to keep in mind that while any annexation, be it this property or another annexation, even though there may be a certain intent at the time of annexation, every property owner or applicant does have the right and ability to come forward before the Planning Commission as well as Town Board of Trustees to modify that intention. And this is that appropriate process. So even if there was an intent at that time that was something different, this would be that appropriate process for them to request the modification to that intent and the new project. So again, while there may have been something different, the owner does have the right to ask for something new.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for your comments and rebuttals. And I think with that, we're going to move forward to the deliberation and vote. So at this stage, we're going to have a discussion. Anyone, I mean, do you guys have any more questions or?
Can you put on the screen?
We are going to do that. Yes. Yes. So, Ms. Manzo, can you put the requirements?
Can I ask a quick question while we do that? Is there an intent to rezone it away from an R4 to maybe a single family district or a limited multifamily district or anything, or just maintain it as an R4?
At this,
Come back. Feels like that's a question to me. Can I come back?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good question. We hadn't thought about that because the uses that we're proposing are allowed under R4. So one thing that could give you comfort is the neighborhood master plan, and Ann and Ton and team, please weigh in. The neighborhood master plan is a bonding vesting document, so it does limit the density to what we agree to here. So if say we change our mind and wanted to come in at some future time because we didn't get this project built or something and wanted to increase the density, we would have to come back in front of you and propose that and have you review that and weigh in on whether you think that's a good idea or not. So this isn't a zoning document, but in a way it does limit the amount of density and the configuration of the density, the size of the lots, the general configuration of the lot. All that stuff is governed by the neighborhood master plan. Did I get that about right? Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh,
Yeah, so a marina, I never heard about the potential project of having a marina. Marina is for boats. I have never seen any boats on the Little Lake.
You haven't?
No.
Oh. Yeah, so I talked a little bit about this earlier. When we when we acquired this property, or shortly after we acquired this property, we acquired the lease on Lone Tree Reservoir, and we didn't have access at the time, so we thought that this would be the right place to do access because it was the only property we own that made sense. And now that we've acquired the lease on the state land, that's where we have our boat access. But yeah, we have boating access on Lone Tree. It's not heavily used. We're looking for more users. So if you're a boater or a fisherman, please come out.
Motorized boats or just sailboats?
It's all of it. So we have a lot of paddleboarders, kayakers. We have a lot of fishermen. It's, in my opinion, a state sort of quality or gold medal quality fishery for walleye and striped bass and wipers, which is a combination of walleye and striped bass. They caught the state record fish there, I believe, a year ago. And then we have motorboating, water skiing, jet skiing, wake surfing, the whole bit.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You do that.
Yeah. And it's open to the public. So we have a resident rate.
Is it visible from County Road 14? Because I'm one of the cyclists going there.
No, you can't really see it from County Road 14. The best place to see it is from our brand new restaurant called the Waterfront Grill, which is also open to the public. It is on Sugarloaf Road, right on the eastern shores of Lone Tree Reservoir. Open to the public, and all of our restaurants offer Berthoud residents a 10% discount. So if you're a Berthoud resident, you can get a discount on your meal, and we encourage the folks of Berthoud to come out. Those that do, I think, really enjoy it. The views from both our main restaurant at the clubhouse and the Waterfront Grill in particular, the views are really pretty amazing, and you can see boating from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, a little plug there for our restaurant. Yeah.
All right. All right. So
We
with
have
that,
mistakes. That's great.
okay. With that, Ms. Manzo, can you put up the criteria so we can deliberate on this criteria? Okay, we're not going to go through each one of the criterion, but based upon what the commissioners have, is there any objection as it relates to the criteria and that the applicant meets the criterion?
No objection.
No? Okay. If there's no further questions or objections, I'd like to entertain a motion on this matter.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval to the town board of trustees for this neighborhood master plan that's being proposed on a request for the property known as Heron Lakes Marina, with the condition that the water provided be solved for any subsequent preliminary plat applications for that development, and based off of the findings in section 30-6-106.g of the municipal code as discussed in staff report.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, I second.
Okay. Ms. Manzo, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Butis?
Yes.
Commissioner Filio?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffmans?
Yes.
Commissioner Taratsas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pond?
Yes.
Vice Chair Semadalis?
Yes. Okay. So with that, I'd like to close the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have staff report.
All right. Ton, did you want to give an update on the art master plan?
Sure. So we are coming to the end of our public art master plan development process. Our consultants have created a final draft or final document. So we have that already in hand. So it's going through its last review, so we can make just some final edits. We are hoping then to get to Planning Commission as well as Town Board of Trustees in early September. So the first hearing is in September, so we'll come before you all, Planning Commission. I do believe that's September 10th. And then we'll follow that up with Town Board of Trustees about a week and a half later. So we are coming to the end of this wonderful process, and so we're all very pleased with the document that we have, and it's very excited about it. And we also have some projects planned to initiate or kick off our public art moving forward. So it's moving along quite nicely, and it's amazing that we're finally here at the end. It's been a very quick process for us, so lots to celebrate. And so I'm really happy and excited to be able to show you all that coming up soon. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bella, did you want to add anything about HPAC or housing?
I would love to add some information about both of those things. So as for HPAC, our Historic Preservation Advisory Committee, they've been working diligently on implementing the actions that were outlined in the new Historic Preservation Plan. So we've been doing some stakeholder outreach, working more closely with Berthoud Historical Society. And as part of our, public engagement, we are offering a second walking tour that will take place in the fall. So that will be on October 3rd at 11 a.m. And that will be a tour of more of the residential side of historic downtown Berthoud. So that will begin in Fickle Park and look at some of our locally designated homes. So that is very exciting, and we hope to see you all there. And then as far as housing, we recently met with some of the developers and builders that are focused on providing attainable and affordable housing products in Berthoud as part of our housing consortium. So that's a quarterly meeting of those folks that I just mentioned. That was identified as an action in the housing diversity plan that you all worked so closely on. So we've continued to communicate with them and discuss with them their new Proposition 123 goals and how that they might work and help us meet our unit counts. So there's been a lot of progress in both of those areas.
And Luke, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Okay.
Been a long night, huh?
So the town is going to have a civic academy. It is a way to, if individuals want to know more about Berthoud, what we do as a community, as an organization, and we have some flyers here. So if you know anybody who is interested in learning more about town as an organization, what we do, all the different components, of course, community development, however, parks, recreation, finance. This is going to be like a crash course in civics in Berthoud. So there are some flyers here as well as applications. If you have friends, family, neighbors that you think would like to know more about Berthoud, I have these for you to pick up after the meeting. And then the comprehensive plan. So in I'm going to go backwards. So that the town board did decide to recommit to Proposition 123 on Tuesday. So I will be filing that commitment next week. And we are going to then also look at updating our comprehensive plan in 2027. And the town trustees did approve staff writing a grant request to DOLA for that. So we'll have to, of course, wait to see if we are approved for that grant. And then if we do get budget approval for 2027 as well. However, we have that to look forward to. And the Planning Commission is the owner of the comprehensive plan. We do present it to the town trustees to accept what you've done. So we will be working on that, and that will be about a 16-month process, and it's really exciting. So this is a lot of fun. Yeah. Then let's see. Next Planning Commission.
Director Johnson, before you move on, is the Proposition 123, is that the one where you have to pick which segments of the program we want to participate in?
Quite frankly, it's after
I have my
my
computer in the
bedtime.
bag.
So Proposition 123 was the affordable and attainable housing, and where we have to meet certain levels. Our new Proposition 123 goal would be 88. However, they have to be the attainable or affordable. And right now we are on this nice sliding scale. However, with a new bill that was passed in 2026, they've nixed that sliding scale. So now we would have to have 88 deed restricted homes in Berthoud. And there's no way that we would ever meet that goal. So we will be proposing a waiver based on what we have in the pipeline for attainable housing. And remember, attainable housing is for a family of four that their net annual income is $156,000. So we're not talking about individuals that need housing vouchers. We're talking about people, we're talking about us. So,
I'm sorry. With this, with Prop 123, when we apply, can you explain to everyone what the benefit is to the town?
thank you. That's a
That's-
really
I think
good
that's key.
point. So when we make a commitment to Proposition 123, it opens the door for the town to apply for specific funds, like to update our comprehensive plan, to do a housing diversity study. We received no match funds to give to Habitat for Humanity. Things like that. It also opens the door for housing developers to access special funding to maybe do land banking, to do other type of activities. So if we don't meet our goal for Proposition 123, we would just have to sit out for 1 year and then we can rejoin. So we're going to join for the next 3 years and hope that we can get some homes that are deed restricted.
And I think that's important that everyone understands.
And I should have phrased my question better. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Okay.
There was different aspects of what that does for us and allows us to have access to. So thank you.
No, thank you. All right. We talked about the comp plan. Then we talked about Proposition 123. So yes, we'll get to update the comp plan if budget and grant work out. Then on the 27th, Bella has arranged. Do you want to talk about NoCo housing?
Yes. So on the 27th, Brooke Cunningham, she's the housing, get the word. It's not czar. She's in charge of housing issues for the NoCo Foundation, so the Northern Colorado Foundation. And they just published in the past few months a regional housing report, which was on your desks a couple meetings ago. And so she's actually going to be coming to discuss some of the outcomes of that report and offering a little bit more information on what that means for us, what that means for our region. So she's a really wonderful speaker, and it's going to be a really, really great presentation. So we're excited to bring her.
And that is the only thing on that agenda. Then on September 10th, there are 2 code issues coming before you. And so with that though, I know that Commissioner Semadalis and Commissioner Hoffman's with 1F has agreed to come back to help us in August. And if I know that we are trying to actively recruit new members to the Planning Commission. And so if you know additional individuals, we have had some applicants and I've spoken to one of your recruits recently. So if there are any other recruits that we can get to join us, we would love to have them because we want to have quorum. And again, you've agreed to be here in August for quorum. I might have to twist your arm to come back on September 10th, but we'll see about that. However, we wanted to, all right. Well, next time we will, because it is more of a work session. If you're here and you'll let me know, maybe we'll have dinner for you that night. Then it'll be there. All right.
See?
However, we wanted to let you know how much we've appreciated you through these years. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you, and it is sad to lose you. So we'll pass those down. Wanted to say thank you. And again, if you'll come, if I can get a verbal from you tonight, then I will arrange to have dinner on the 27th.
I will need to
You are in already.
You will be gone?
I'll confirm with you. I don't
Okay.
know. I got to talk to my boss.
Okay, so then we'll only have half a meal. All right.
I will try to be here. But
Not a happy meal, but a half a meal.
speaking of happy meals,
So when
what's
is it?
going
On
with
the
McDonald's?
I know.
Director
I heard
Johnson,
it's
on the,
supposed to
I will
be
not be able to attend the August 27th meeting.
Okay.
Same with me.
No snacks.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a good thing it will. So can we just have hands then who will not attend? Because if we don't have a lot of participation, there isn't a reason to have the meeting.
I will
Because
try
it is
to
a work
be
session.
honest.
When is it?
The 27th of August in 2
Oh, okay.
weeks.
I am gone both meetings in September. You're aware of that.
Okay, I knew the one on the 10th
Or I hope
and
you're
the
aware.
24th. Yep, I've got you down for both.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll have to. I'll check tonight.
All right, so we know for sure 2 won't be there. So why don't we do this? If one more won't be there on the 27th, we will postpone that to another discussion time.
And I won't answer.
Okay.
So.
And then we'll have snacks another time. You'll just have to come back. All right. Thank you all. And
But
that truly is it.
Well, I just want to say thank you.
yeah, me too. Yeah.
I mean, this has been a wonderful experience for me, in many respects, to work with everybody, the staff, the commissioners, making new friends, learning a lot. I've never done this before. I've been on other things in the corporate world, but this has really been great. I mean, it's been a great exercise. I've got to learn who you are, and really, I think you guys do a great job. I mean, when I started the commission 3 years ago, it was a good team then, but I think things have changed, like anything, process improvement, right? And we've really come a long way. So again, I'm very grateful that I was able to be part of the team, and I'm surely going to miss everybody, because I really enjoyed it. But I do have some personal things that I've committed to, and I hope everyone appreciates. I may be back. You never know. But thank you.
Well, thank you. We're very grateful for all of you.
Well, yeah, so same on my side. I mean, I will never be able to make it so well as Nick just did, but I think it was very interesting because it was completely outside of my scope. How a town is driven. I mean, the future of a town is driven, and it was very interesting. Even if sometimes I was wondering why are we doing that. That's okay. Well, I have to thank you because I spent a lot of good hours here, even if sometimes I wanted to cut it shorter because sometimes we look for nothing. Yeah, it was a good experience. And well, I'm gonna come and ask you for the next session if you still need me or not. By the way, I was normally in until January 27th. And you asked me to terminate in July, so.
Well, and it was because your term, so it was not asking you to terminate. It was asking you if you would be willing that your term just would end sooner, and you can always reapply. It's just we have terms that were ending in August and July and September and January, and we're trying to consolidate the termination for the terms. Not that you terminate personally, just that you were okay with that your term. And anybody can always reapply. You can reapply for another term. It's just that because you were January and we wanted everybody to align with September.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So, and what's going to happen is we have 2 this year, 2 next year, and then 3, so that we don't have a huge overturning of planning commission. We want it to be more spread out because you do such heavy, thoughtful work. We didn't want there to be 1 year 4 and then 1 year 3, so that we're trying to stagger the terms. And we just need it was just too much to try to juggle everybody spread out throughout the year. So we got it consolidated to September, with your gracious agreement yes, so no, we would love to have you reapply.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, do I have my cards?
Okay. That's just for term one. Yeah.
Okay.
That comes with a meal.
Are there any questions from the commissioners, concerns, anything you want to get out there? I have a question. I drive by McDonald's all the time. Again, I don't go there, but I saw the signs coming down. Are they knocking it down? Or is that something we can't talk?
So no, there are a lot of concerns with those properties.
Yes.
And McDonald's has approached us with options and what they're doing. We did have a call with an individual, a contractor that is a demolition contractor. So we're walking the site on the 25th just to make a determination on what needs to be taken care of there to make sure that the site is safe for the public. So there is some interesting soil movement in that area that is causing harm to a lot of the buildings. So,
That's good.
yeah.
But yeah, everyone's asking me, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I know, I see the same thing you see.
Yeah, right now they are closed and they have.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I saw them taking air conditioners off the roof and signage down. I'm like, it doesn't look good. Okay.
Ventilate in the soil is definitely needed. My deck stairs, same thing.
All right. All right. So with that, if we have no more comments, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?